Howdy, everybody. This is Gaming Ramble. We appreciate you for tuning in to predict the Xbox showcase. What shall be there? What shall not be there? Everything will be discussed here today on the show. Last year, Xbox had one of the greatest video game showcases of all time, in my opinion.
Mm.
And yeah, when I was putting this list together, I was like, oh, wow. I think they're gonna have another one. And really, if you think about it, like the last 3 years have been excellent for their showcases. So I'm ecstatic. I'm really, really pumped to tune in. And it's kind of becoming a new thing where I think fans who are not necessarily Xbox owners, you can tune into this as well. And
Mm.
it's a big third party showcase for players of all platforms now.
Yeah, because it's again, even if you don't like Xbox, um, they aren't targeting Xbox centric fans anymore. They haven't really targeted it for ever since Play Anywhere was announced. However many years ago that was. It's always been all right. Let's try and make it as wide of an audience as possible. And now obviously they've entered the PlayStation ecosystem, so it's at this point, if it doesn't say that it's coming to PlayStation in any of the announcements, it's most likely just timed. I don't think there's going to be anything that will remain on that platform in its entirety and exclusive. So
Totally. Yeah, and I mean, I think it's also a studio capacity side, like a issue as well, where if the studio has the capacity for developing a port for PlayStation, PC, and Xbox, because like with Compulsion with South of Midnight, I think that they're just a little bit too small to get that PlayStation version ready to go day one. Same thing with Obsidian, with Avowed, or maybe they had some sort of maybe they announced that as an Xbox exclusive a while
mm.
back. But regardless, I'm assuming that most things are day and date at this point. So I guess this is a showcase now for everybody. The Microsoft Gaming
Apart from
Showcase.
Switch, unfortunately, I
Yeah, well,
think
they
maybe
said
maybe
that.
some of these games could make it, but I think the
Yeah,
majority of them, I don't know. We'll see.
yeah. I know Phil's been talking. Old Phil Spencer's been talking a lot about wanting to support the Switch, and I know Call of Duty is supposedly coming to Switch. So we'll see. Um, But yeah, I hope they stick with the name Xbox. I know that that's like irrelevant to the topic today, but I really hope we don't have a Microsoft gaming showcase to look forward to at some point. That's not fun verbiage to say.
The This is the thing, isn't it? Is that as long as they have some hardware, even if,
hmm
say, in supposedly they are releasing traditional console hardware next generation, but if they even just moved into the handheld space or whatever, like as long as they still have some form of hardware, they can brand it as that.
Totally.
The day that they give up all hardware and solely focus on software is when that name will change. Like you can
Yeah,
almost guarantee it because it will hold no value then.
agreed.
So.
Yeah. Um, so how we separated our predictions was first party, third party, and like some dream picks, where
Hmm.
we saved that for the end, where it's like, just get kind of crazy, have some fun. Nothing that we think's actually going to happen, but
Exclusives.
yeah, I swear, I know people hate that I constantly harp on about it, but I sure wish they were still doing exclusives. Anywho, so really what we both hammered home, because we were talking a little bit before the show the first party and third party is just you can go crazy with that. And really the first party is just it's insane. They own so many studios at this point. There's so much we know about. So a lot of this isn't even really predicting. It's just sort of like, hey, this thing that we already know about, do you think it's going to pop up here? And let's kind of talk about what we expect if it does pop up. So, um, how about we go ahead and kick it off there with the first parties? And Phil Spencer was talking about Everwild in an interview a few months back, talking about how he's happy with the state of Everwild and it's progressing smoothly, and he's liking what he's seeing from the team over there at Rare. And I uh I would expect that we see Everwild at this showcase for the first time in years. I don't know why he would bring that up if it's not kind of getting ready to be re-revealed in some capacity. I hope that Rare kind of goes to I think it's going to be a multiplayer thing, but I would like to see maybe something scaled back a little bit, something that's not as ever evolving as Sea of Thieves, something you can just kind of hop into, even if it is kind of in that grounded vein where it's something you can play
Mm.
single player and still have some level of enjoyment. Um, yeah, Everwild.
Yeah, it's the type of thing where in years past they would be aching for something like this. Their recent output is left them in a position where like they're not in a rush to get anything out. Like if anything, they
Mm,
have too much, and it's potentially hindering when they want to release stuff because there's so many
right.
things that they've got here, and they're like, oh, we're having to like release things weekly almost. It feels like so. It's interesting, like you said, bringing up Everwild. Um, I think it's to Rare's benefit that they're doing as well as they are because it puts basically no pressure on them. You
Totally.
can keep it in the oven as long as you want because we have Doom coming out, we have this coming out, we have that coming out, we have we have Gears launching on PlayStation. I think that's also something that hasn't been talked about as well with them launching stuff on like PlayStation and stuff. It obviously allows them to celebrate a bigger number as well, which alleviates the stress of the other developers because they know that all that funding's coming in and stuff like that. So even if they do kind of, well, we didn't do particularly too well on this platform, releasing on every platform, you'll collectively do better. Hopefully, is the
Yeah,
idea.
absolutely. Well, I mean, they sold like 1.5 million copies of Forza on PlayStation. I
Exactly,
just did
that's like
some
a
quick,
3-year-old game.
yeah, I did some quick math on my calculator here on my phone. That's over $100 million in revenue. Take your 30% cut off of that, and you're still left with 70 plus $1 million. Like, that's a lot of money that you pretty much just funded. You got your money back from South of Midnight, or hopefully, I would hope that wasn't more than
That would be
$100 million.
shocking if that was.
Yeah,
I don't foresee that. That's probably floating around the 50 to 70 max. Even then, I think
hopefully, yeah.
70 is a bit much.
Yeah. So it's no doubt they're making a lot of dough that way. But hey, what's your first prediction on the board, Loon?
Oh, so that was your first. Yes.
Yeah,
Alrighty.
Everwild's my first prediction on the board. I
Hmm.
think we'll see it.
So I had on mine, I think Gears. I think Gears is a safe lock. Because what we should
Yeah, of
also discuss quickly is obviously we both have our own lists, and we knew that there were going to be crossovers at some point. And if you haven't
course.
got Gears on your list, I don't know what you're smoking, but
No.
you definitely have Gears on your list.
Yeah.
Um, this is the thing with Gears though. There's so many ways that you could look at this, if that makes sense. You have obviously the remasters coming out the end of the year, right? For
Yeah.
PlayStation.
In
Yeah,
August.
yeah, much deeper into the year. So that can leave them with either putting another trailer out for that, which obviously would qualify as appearing at the showcase, or they haven't really shown E-Day again, have they?
No,
In a
just that
decent
first
while.
announced trailer.
Yeah. So if there's going to be anything that kind of hypes people up, would be maybe showing that again and kind of squashing the thing that's kind of floating around there of like, is it going to launch day and date with PlayStation? So if they announce it with the trailer and also put PlayStation's logo there, I think that would help alleviate some of the confusion as to what's going on.
Yeah, and I think that would also be the thing where it's like if Gears E-Day is day one PlayStation, then it's like, all right, all questions are answered. Literally everything from that point on, as long as the studio has the capacity, the bandwidth to launch it day one on PlayStation, it'll all be launched day one on PlayStation.
Yep.
And I think that's sort of the confusion it'd be nice to have some of that just figured out and clarified.
Yep. So there's them two, which are kind of safe picks. What I actually was also thinking though is because there'll be some people that be like, oh, maybe they would announce like 2 or 3 remaster. I don't think they'll do it that quick. One's not even out yet. If you were gonna do anything, it would probably be that Gears Tactics game, right? Or did that? That's not launched on PlayStation, right?
I don't think so, no.
I don't know if that like because it was a spin-off title, so I don't know if people made any noise about that being released. So I don't think that's on PlayStation yet. So if that
I
isn't,
don't believe so.
um, I could see that making an appearance because that's a very low risk effort title to like port over. Like that wouldn't take any time whatsoever.
Well, you kind of touched on my prediction and talking about Gears of War 2, Gears of War 3, all of that. I actually do think we see Gears of War 2. And maybe this is more of a, you know, if I'm being honest, maybe I'm shooting for the stars a little bit with this one, but I think that there's something really cool that could be done where everybody knows that Gears of War is already coming. So you do a trailer, you show some gameplay for Gears of War Reloaded, and then as that trailer fades, you immediately loop into Gears of War 2 Reloaded, and you announce that for like October at, 49.99 or 39.99 or whatever. And then as Gears of War 2 Reloaded fades out, you run a trailer for Gears of War E-Day, a gameplay trailer for Gears of War E-Day. So it's kind of like you know, sort of this because what would happen is if you ran Gears 1 back to back with Gears 2, then people are going to be like, oh, damn, we are getting nickel and dimed like crazy for this shit. But
Yeah.
then the PR spin, you end it with Gears of War E-Day. People forget that they're getting nickel and dimed for the fucking the trilogy. Um, but yeah, I think it's about time to see some gameplay. The rumors that they're trying to launch for 2026. If you can get in there early 2026 to avoid GTA's blast radius in May, I mean, that would be the big game of early 2026.
I really miss early 2000s marketing because it would have just made for a perfect like tongue-in-cheek like jab at GTA of
Yeah.
like being like, okay, we'll put Gears 3 in like May and put like the game cover up and then him lancering through it with the chainsaw and cutting it in half and being like standing there. Obviously, it wouldn't damage GTA in any way. It's just that
No.
type of like old school, jabs
Yeah.
that used to be thrown that they don't do anymore,
50 Cent
unfortunately.
versus 50 Cent versus Kanye,
Yeah.
graduation versus the massacre, or graduation versus Curtis, I believe. Yeah.
So like that kind of like vibe that would have been funny. But yeah, I'm kind of I will say I'm kind of surprised that that's a prediction. I strongly believe this is obviously we go different avenues and stuff. I don't know if they would step on the toes that quickly because it's that
Hmm.
type of thing of like with them specifically dropping the Gears One remaster as a separate thing for like a good chunk of money. Again, like you're not in any rush. You know you've got two, three, four, five, Judgment. That's five more titles that you can ping people for with there being no rush.
My only logic was like, wouldn't you want the entire trilogy out before E-Day? You know what I mean? Or I guess you don't really have to. I mean, because E-Day's a prequel, but why would you even put one out before E-Day if that's I don't know. Interesting.
Yep. Oh,
All right.
it's back to me then, right?
Yeah, yeah, we'll hit
Oh,
back to
quick.
you.
Hitting that back quick. Damn. I'll go with Fable.
Yeah, of course.
Um, that's also going to be on your list. I would assume. So my
Absolutely.
thought process with Fable is that it's a black straw. Oh, there we go. My thought progress with Fable is you obviously know we have the game in development that's still yet to come out, so we still need to see more stuff on whatever that is. It's obviously rumored for a next year release, right? I don't think it's
Yep.
hitting this year. I this I will say as well. This does kind of make me a little bit sad, but with all these games obviously going everywhere, it just makes sense that Xbox kind of takes a page out of PlayStation's book with the whole remastering stuff. Wouldn't it just make
Hmm.
sense then if you're going to generate interest and they take so like you can outsource this pretty quick, like doing a Fable 1 remaster announcement? Or do you think because
Totally.
this is named Fable, they
Oh,
wouldn't want to generate A, confusion, and B, is this just a reboot so they don't really care about what happened before? Unlike Gears, where a Gears E Day, where it is a prequel rather than a reboot in that sense. Does that make sense?
That's actually, yeah, that's, I never thought about that. That's a really good point that I haven't seen brought up, is that how do you
Market it.
remaster? Yeah, how do you market Fable when your next game is also just called Fable? And unless you do Fable the
The something saga was like wrap it up in some word where it would be like
Mhm.
um in relation to the games or whatever.
Yeah, and that might be one of those situations where you have to do all three games and you call it like the Fable something trilogy, the Fable classic trilogy, whatever the
I'm
case may
trying to
be.
think of the name of the character, Jack of something. I don't know. I'm drawing a blank on it. Sorry, guys.
Well,
Usually I can dig up names, but yep.
it's interesting that you don't talk about the actual the new game. Are you thinking we don't see that at the show
Oh no, I said
or
I said about there probably being
oh,
that appearing, but the also thing of what I'm seeing is more and more likely to happen is that they're going to go down this remaster route.
mhm,
They didn't have to do that when everything was tied to Xbox because they were falling so far behind. They needed the brownie points. Because this is the thing as well with like with that Gears One thing. Like we're not the Xbox players aren't really being charged. Really, you know,
right.
you have a Game Pass, so it's just going to be in them. So it's going to just be the PlayStation players getting dinged, and the same with the Fable stuff. Whatever they announce, you can already play Fable 1, 2, 3 on Xbox at the moment. So if you're gonna do it again, like it just makes it's just free money. It's the thing that I don't love, but I understand from them. Like it's
Mhm.
so with like the Days Gone thing that what they recently did. It's so low risk, even if it doesn't sell tons of copies. It doesn't cost basically anything to do in
Right.
comparison to a new IP or a new entry into the series. So
I want to talk about this new Fable game a little bit before we hop off of this one though, because obviously that's a prediction on my list as well.
mhm.
How I am starting to kind of wonder about this game. I know it just got delayed out of 2025 into 2026. I'm gonna be honest, Loon. I wouldn't be surprised if we go into the showcase and we still don't see a release date. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if this slips to 2027. I feel like this is a difficult thing to create. You're going from Forza Horizon to fucking Fable. Obviously, you're hiring people along the way who are, experts in the third person role-playing game experience. People from I believe that if I'm not mistaken, I think some Eidos Montreal developers are assisting on development with this. So, I mean, they got a lot of talent working on it who are familiar with games of this ilk, but I feel like this is probably probably a bitch and a half to create.
There's that side of it. Then I think I've mentioned this before. The thing that doesn't really seem to float around when people are talking about it is this going to have the same effect that Crackdown 3 had? You can have an IP that was beloved back in its day and had like you have that warm feeling of like yeah I loved Crackdown 1 or I love and stuff like that, and Crackdown 3 comes out and there's no fanfare for it. There's no love. Like you're talking what the very end of the 360 generation, like the final few years was when Fable 3 came out. You're
Mhm.
talking an entire generation with nothing Fable related, and you're halfway through this generation and it still isn't here. So all of these new people that enter ecosystems or become new gamers and stuff like they have no ties to that series.
Yeah,
Um, and on top of that, it was the thing of a lot of people didn't care for Crackdown 3 when it came out because it felt like nothing had really progressed. So are they going to be able to overhaul them systems and still? Because this is the thing when you're going back and you're rebooting a franchise, there's a fine line between doing new ideas and giving old fans something where they're like, yeah, this feels Fable. So that's my worry of like they're going to be able to. I know it's a big genre shift, but they also going to be able to keep that feeling as
absolutely.
well.
Well, do you want me to run into my next one, or I guess that was kind of a dual prediction there as well. Do you want to hit back to you, or you want to pass it back to me?
Um, I'll throw one out there. I don't know if you have this Wolfenstein. Like
Oh, I do not have that.
it is about damn time, you know. Um they wrapped up their game, right?
Yep, Indiana Jones.
Yep. And I'm still waiting. I'm still waiting for any news on it. Like I need this story to be concluded, man. Like you've done two games, and as great as they were, and I hold them very highly, it's kind of the thing, like you haven't the biggest thing that you need to do in a game set in World War II, and you've not done it still. Like what's going on, guys? Come on. You flirted with it in the second game. So it's like, man, I just want to see this come full circle because it's the type of thing of where the set pieces they've managed to achieve in both of them games were cool as hell. They were fun.
Yeah,
They're just really enjoyable experiences. They can go off the rails for like a third and final game. Of
yeah,
like, you don't need to be going back to like the drawing board of like, oh, learn all your stuff from the beginning and all that kind of like BS game design. Like, just give us everything from the get go and just let it go off the rails. Like, yeah, like with what Doom is doing, kind of thing, of where it's just keep pumping it up to 11
yeah, yeah.
with that new Doom game.
That's a good one because I know that they have multiple studios under the Machine Games umbrella. So I assume that someone is cooking up a Wolfenstein 3 while we're hopefully waiting for some new Indiana Jones games as well. I don't know. I mean,
Some of us.
I I don't I hope we get a new Indiana Jones as well, but I could see something being something being shown for a new Wolfenstein for
I
sure.
think he confirmed it, didn't he? That they'd greenlit
Uh
another when he was being interviewed, Phil Spencer. I think they said they greenlit a sequel.
yeah, they teased it. They said we could potentially see more in this universe or something. Um I hope so. I really hope so. I think that game was excellent. So I will kind of stay right there in that same vein of first person high octane action and talk a little bit about Perfect Dark. So this is
Perfect.
a this is from the last showcase last year. I think this was probably my favorite game that was revealed. I think
Mm.
this trailer, I mean, it just looks absolutely excellent. So I would like to see more uncut gameplay with this one. I would like to see this thing running raw footage. Let's see what this looks like in a 2 minute gameplay trailer where you're just seeing a chunk of a level or something. That would be my preference. I think that with this one as well as Fable, it could be the thing where we just see a little bit more on it, no release date, and that's kind of a 2027-ish title. I wouldn't be surprised if that was a launch title for their next console. Like that game looks really ambitious.
I I this is going to be just the continuation of Deus Ex in everything but name. Because even the opening of that trailer, I don't know like how much you've looked at it. It's the exact same opening as Mankind Divided,
Oh,
where they're
yeah,
all
the
suited up and he goes into like the what do you call it, the sandy setting and stuff, because the opening is in like Dubai or whatever, right? In
hmm,
Mankind Divided, like it's just all of it. Like if they didn't tell you the name of the game, you'd be like, oh my god, another Deus Ex game. Like
yeah,
if it has that vibe and stuff, and I think it's obviously going to be, it's going to have its own DNA and stuff that it's pulling from, but it just feels like that. It just
totally,
feels like there's, since they stopped development on it, and obviously that there's going to be probably no more games in that universe for a very long time at the very least. This is just picking up a massive void that's left in the market, and I really, really hope that with this going into Game Pass and stuff like that, is it's going to just get it to as many people as possible, because that's the thing with like Mankind Divided, um, and Human Revolution, is that they just didn't, like they got the mafia treatment thing, but they just didn't seem to sell in relation to how good the product actually is. It's baffling.
totally. Yeah, I want to say before we jump into anything else, I apologize if y'all hear the dinging in the background from my phone. I got to keep, I usually all the time turn my phone on silent when we record, but I gotta keep my phone on. I'm waiting for a fucking work call, so I apologize, guys, if you hear a ding here and there. I know that's about as fucking annoying as it gets for podcast listeners and watchers.
I didn't
So
hear it, so I think you're fine.
oh, thank God. Yeah, I tried to keep it quiet. I tried to turn down the volume on it. I with Perfect Dark, yeah, you definitely see a lot of the Deus Ex influence, and also, I just I really hope that because it's weird. Eidos Montreal, the Deus Ex makers, are assisting with Fable, and then Crystal Dynamics, the Tomb Raider creators, are assisting on Perfect Dark. And it's like you would think that'd be the opposite, but it's yeah. I can't wait to see more on this game. This is one that I actually wouldn't be surprised if we don't see though. I think this is still a ways out. I hope we see it.
I need it, man. Like, because we both agreed on it. I think when we did the reactions to when that was first shown and they had all them trailers and stuff, it topped. We was like, all right, what's your favorite thing? Well, obviously,
Mm.
this is the only thing that should be anyone's favorite in that announcement. Like that trailer was perfect.
It's so good, dude. What's your next prediction on the board, man?
Right. So I think this is a fairly easy guess. With the popularity of Oblivion's remaster thing coming out,
Yep.
they obviously have their fantasy side. They also have a good old Fallout,
Yep.
and on top of that, Fallout's just been greenlit for season 3 before season 2's even came out. I don't know if you saw that.
Yep.
They've
Yep.
greenlit
Yep.
a third season. Season 2's supposedly taking place in New Vegas, so what better way to either capitalize on that? Because my thought process behind this, right, is what was the development time for New Vegas? It was very short,
Yeah, it
right?
was
18
ridiculous.
months, something
Mm.
crazy like that. So if the game's already made, could you realistically outsource this and get this out of the door? Like this is of that side of this prediction is subject to like a lot more of a dream thing, but is it within the realms of possibility to have this like turned over in like 8 months as a remaster? Do you think?
So here's the thing. Virtuous, the team who did Oblivion, the team who's doing MGS3, they are fucking huge.
Mm-hmm.
So I wouldn't be surprised if this was in development years and years ago. Um, like I think they have close to 5,000 employees at Virtuous. So they got a lot of stuff constantly cooking. And if they have kind of, because they were a work for hire studio, they were an assist studio
Mm-hmm.
that would come in, kind of, bring the mercenaries in to polish something up, get it out the door. But if they've kind of been repositioned into this totally just, you're going to go and remaster games and make a
Yeah,
fuck
a
ton
new
more
level
money
of
that way.
new Blue Point, right? Because that's how they kind of started smashing through success wise.
Right. And you're seeing Night Dive have a ton of
Yep.
success with this. Yeah, I mean, so if they got a lot of projects in the cooker, I would absolutely suspect one of those is either Fallout 3 or Fallout New Vegas. Now, let me hit you with this, Lone. Tell me this wouldn't be a sick ass reveal. Um, we get a trailer for Fallout Season 2, and at the end of the trailer, like it shows nothing of New Vegas until the end of the trailer, and it shows New Vegas in the Fallout Season 2 from Amazon. And then as it's showing like a shot of a car riding through
It
into New,
transitions.
it transitions to the remaster.
That would be so. That would. I was gonna say that would make the crowd roar, but obviously these are all online events now anymore. Fucking
Yeah,
E3, man. Why'd I have to die?
I
I,
know.
I know that
Imagine
it
that
was
pop.
exactly that's the. I know that people clowned on stuff like that, and people even clown on the Game Awards. Having in-person audiences and stuff like that, it just makes it. I don't know that little bit more special.
Mhm.
But
Yeah.
yeah, that would blow the roof off if that was in person. People would be going crazy for that.
Well, dude, I guess uh as we kind of talk about some big E3 moments that I really wish we had a crowd for. Blade.
Ooh.
I it's been a while, man. And I know Arcane is working away at their third person version of Blade, trying to get that off the ground. And what I hope to see is just gameplay. I'm not expecting release dates or anything like that for
Mm.
Blade. I'm not even honestly expecting gameplay. I'm hoping for gameplay. I would think that like just an in-engine sort of cinematic shot, just to get a feel for like what the game is going to look like, kind of not necessarily a concept trailer. I want more than that, but just sort of some concept idea for how the game is going to play. Kind of like what we saw with GTA 6, that last trailer, where it's like, yeah, sure, there's a glimpse of, you can kind of understand what the gameplay is going to be, even if you're not directly seeing the over the shoulder view and the exact camera positioning. And so, yeah, but I that's another one of those moments seeing Blade revealed E3 season. If we could get official gameplay and it just looked badass, like that's why you miss E3, man.
So this is Arcane, right? Behind
Yep.
this.
Hmm.
I'm gonna toss. I don't think we've like spoke about this before. When we had a discussion with Indiana Jones and we debated, because I was saying about how I think they can pull it off in first person. He was a little bit skeptical back then, and rightfully so.
Yep.
You know, when you're talking about licensing an IP and stuff like that.
Totally.
So this is Dishonored and Deathloop devs, right? That's first person. Is this going to be
Yeah.
first person? Is this going to be a first like with Dishonored melee combat? Do you reckon, or
No.
do you think this is going to be one of the things where it's third person?
Yeah, they confirmed third
Oh, they
person
come.
for
Okay.
this one. Yeah, this is a big departure for them. That's kind of the thing that's why I want to see gameplay so much, is because
Mm.
I don't even really have an idea for what they're going
Okay.
for here.
Because okay, well that opens up an extra question then. Dante's Inferno style camera, or more of a, you know, Evil West?
Yeah,
What do you think
I, I
would it like benefit from?
I hate to be so fucking generic because I know everything's kind of adopting the third person over the shoulder God of War style 2018 perspective, but like I just think it depends on listen, if this was being made by Slow Clap or if this was being made by like a double A or indie team, hell yeah, let's do old school God of War. I just finished playing a old school God of War clone I'm forgetting the name of it. Not which wonderful, but something Pirate Blood or some shit. But Captain Blood, Captain
Yeah,
Blood.
Captain Blood. Yep.
Yeah. And so it was so cool. Old school God of War, the camera pushed back a little bit. I actually, and I got a game that I, on this list, specifically that I put on this list because I missed that old school style of camera. But I think if you want, if you're trying to create something and you're marketing to a mass audience, you definitely, I think, want the new sort of over the shoulder, ultra cinematic kind of thing.
Okay. Yeah, I think it would fit him as well with the way
Hmm.
the films played out, kind of like Matrix esque, as it were. So yeah, I think
Yeah,
it could fit. It would allow them to do much more cinematic attacks that way. Because like yeah, you can do like cinematic attacks in them old school God of War games, but being that close makes it all that more visceral. That's what I'm
100%,
hoping
man.
more than anything for this Blade game. I want like horror elements. I don't want
Yeah.
like tame shit. Like, but
Yeah, I want to be
we will
walking
see.
through a fucking dark ass club and the strobe lights and you're seeing people drinking each other's blood and like just super gory. I want it to be real dark. I want to really
You want
you
Vampire
remember
the
the
Masquerade Bloodlines 2 then launching later this year?
is that your next prediction?
No.
Oh, okay.
No,
I
that
was
would
about
have
to
been a
say
good
hell
one though.
yeah.
We're still in the
Yeah.
first parties. I wish that
Right,
was
right.
first party.
Ooh, the money.
My goodness. Right. Because this is on your list, I don't have to choose this in. I think I'll what I'll do, because I noticed that your list was kind of light on live service esque games and stuff like that. I think I'll shout a few out because I think that's a fairly easy lock for some of this stuff to appear. Diablo's next expansion, I think, could be announced because I don't think because Vessel of Hatred came out and I don't think they announced whatever's coming after that.
Yeah.
to my
Yeah.
knowledge. I don't think anything's been like they've done content update or seasons, whatever it is that they call it. But that next big expansion, especially with hearing because Multismal did a coverage of it, and they still haven't wrapped the story up because that was my biggest complaint. I don't know if you remember me talking about it. The game technically ends, but it doesn't at the same time. And apparently, it's the
Hmm.
same for the Vessel of Hatred expansion. It sets stuff up, and then you're like, oh, you're gonna finally no, okay. So hopefully they wrap the story up and make a new kind of story.
All right.
Is what I'll go with.
Well, I guess I'll pivot us back into the realm that I rarely step foot outside of in the single player story centric space. And this is probably my most anticipated game in development
I know what it
in
is.
yeah, with first party Xbox in general. I just I can't wait for this game, man. Clockwork Revolution.
Well, I thought you were gonna say
Um
State of Decay 3. No, I'm joking.
Hey, yeah, we can talk about that one in a second as well. We can actually pivot directly from this one to that one if you want to, if that was a prediction you had.
I actually forgot about it,
Okay.
but we can do that. Plenty of
Yeah. Well,
games.
Clockwork Man, this is coming from In Exile, the Wasteland
Mm.
creators, and a lot of the OGs from Fallout 1 and 2 um on staff with this, and they're kind of leaning into they're kind of doing what everybody hoped would be done for a lot of teams after they get acquired is, oh, damn, now we got unlimited resources. What can we do with this newfound budget? And they're taking a lot of their DNA and a lot of their prestigious talent for creating these exceptional, extremely interactive, extremely choice dependent worlds and expanding it into like this kind of first person sort of immersive simish looking experience, and we haven't really seen a lot of gameplay, so I would just hope that the next thing we see is gameplay, just like a couple minutes gameplay, get you an idea, see the dialogue wheel, how that looks, see the character customization, see the time manipulation mechanics, see the first person shooting, see the stealth, whatever you're throwing in there, just give us like quick shots of what we can expect. Once again, I think this one will be a little what probably 2027, I would say, for like Clockwork Revolution looks really, really ambitious as well. So I know I'm talking a lot about 2027 games. That's kind of a bummer, but I promise I got some 2026 picks soon, and actually a 2025 pick as well.
Yeah, it's interesting, especially seeing the footage as well when you see what's recently released and what's going to be recently releasing as well. Because it kind of, I don't know if you're getting like the feeling vibe of, I think, especially when you get acquired and stuff, you kind of start to merge your DNA as well as to what like when they're turning around going, okay, deadlines this, deadlines that, then you kind of have to like streamline stuff. I don't know, it's kind of reminded me of like Avowed, looking at it in the way
Hmm.
that the game will be structured. I don't know if it will be more open than Avowed, or if they're going to put their foot down and just be like, because if I'm being 100% honest, I don't think they would have wanted Avowed to be as restricted as it was overall. I think they would have probably wanted a little bit more freedom in that world if they could have done it.
Yeah.
But I think it's that kind of thing. Just get it out. All right, let's get it out. So is that going to be also what will happen here?
I, yeah, I think that I don't know. I would imagine with this that it's like you said, of course, there's going to be times where you have to whatever, dumb things down. And I kind of don't like those terms often because it's choices being made. It's not necessarily sure, things can become more simple, but in doing that, oftentimes things also become a lot more complex. Like Avowed, for instance, and it's just it comes down to the sacrifices that you as the player would want to see made. Because Avowed is the best combat Obsidian's ever made by a country mile, and it's much more complex and much more interesting in my opinion than 99% of first person melee based games in general or just first person combat games in general. But in doing that, a lot of sacrifices were made to make that move, and the movement feels so damn good. There's a lot
Mm.
about the gameplay that just feels excellent. But once again, sacrifices had to be made for that. And it's going to come down to, do you feel like the sacrifices were worth it? Because definitely some sacrifices, I imagine, had to be made to get this Clockwork Revolution game looking like it's looking. That looks insane.
Especially with In Exile, because they've done that was Wasteland. Oh, what else have they done? Like it's usually a lot
Uh,
lower budget stuff.
yeah,
Um,
much lower budget. Like,
I can't think of that other game. I'm drawing a complete blank on it. That's gonna annoy me.
I can look it up real quick.
It wasn't Torment Tides of Numenera, was it? Is that what I'm thinking of? Were they the devs of it?
Let's see. So yep, Torment.
Yeah,
Hmm.
Tides of Numenera. So they're very much in that CRPG space, and this is the kind of thing where it's like, I don't even know, like to a degree of like, yeah, Microsoft probably applied a little bit of pressure with Avowed and stuff, but it's also just trying to with Avowed making sure that it just functions and not letting your mind run wild and stuff. And yeah, that's my only worry for Clockwork Revolution, because I don't know if I can't think of an In Exile game that's been this ambitious. And that's not a
Totally.
dig at
No,
CRPGs because they're ambitious in their own way as to what they do in the genre. But this is so many more like active mechanics. You can get away with a lot of stuff when the camera is zoomed back and stuff like that, and things don't maybe function as good as they could when you're like you're in that level of perspective and interacting with it. It's a lot more apparent of being like, oh, that don't feel right.
totally. Yeah.
So hopefully
And
they can get that sorted.
yeah. And it's cool that this looks like a game that could sell tens of millions. Like this looks like it could be a big thing. So it's cool that they're trying to, elevate to that next. They're trying to break out of any sort of restrictions that they felt when they were independent, which is that's kind of the dream scenario for acquisition, is you get acquired and you're actually able to go and make your dreams come true, with the newfound budget. So hopefully that's the case, and hopefully they don't get tangoed. But what is your next prediction, man? Gonna start rapid fire running through some of mine.
uh, I can rapid fire a few and not have to run trailers if you want. Just get a few of the smaller ones off the docket.
Yeah, sounds good.
Right. So we did that. I could see Minecraft obviously make an appearance of some kind. Obviously with the film recently coming out, maybe some crossover with something, something small like that. Sea of Thieves content update. I could see.
Yeah,
It's always the kind of thing, along with Elder Scrolls Online as well. Always usually makes an appearance here and there. Um, this one I won't run footage of, but this kind of quick. They've done Age of Empires console versions. I think four came out and two came out. I don't remember one being released on consoles, but I could be drawing a blank. But I know for certain Age of Empires 3 isn't out in any capacity on consoles. So I could see them maybe making that the next thing. But the thing that they're obviously going and greenlighting these older titles, right? So with Horizon and stuff, it would make sense to me as well. And this is just part of this is being pushed because I obviously love Remedy. Can we get like Quantum Break, a second wind, guys? If you're gonna be porting games, like you released that game in such a rough generation and rough year for Xbox, to the point where no one cared. It was in its probably lowest point when that came out. Um, I think it would do it exceptionally well as like a, because it doesn't have the thing of like the when you have like Alan Wake tied to the name and stuff, you have people who hesitate. Oh, it's the second game. I haven't played the first game, and then they just don't bother interacting with it and stuff like that. Or Control 2 is the same thing. Like Quantum Break is on its own thing. Like you'd be able to show it. Oh, that looks cool gameplay, and the people who don't know the deeper Remedy verse, as it were, they're not going to care about them tires because they're not going to know about them. They'll just dive in and be like, "Man, that game looks cool as shit to play," and I think it would
Mm,
do really well on PlayStation. So
yeah.
that's like bordering on a dream pick, but it more in line for because I wrote down Dead Rising 3, Redfall, Recore, or Quantum Break. Something like that, like a game that could any of them games could be thingied and pushed to other things. Because if they're just sitting there, it's just free money.
Yeah. Yeah, and they own all of those IP, right?
Um, they obviously don't own Dead Rising.
Oh, that's Capcom, right, right, right. They just
Capcom own
funded
it. They
the.
just I don't know why that's still floating. Because it's the same thing
Hmm.
with like Dead Rising 1 never got a PlayStation 3 port, did it? That was entirely like it was just Dead Rising 2 on PlayStation 3. I don't
Yeah,
think
I know.
the first game ever made its way over. It was obviously they remastered it for the
Yeah.
PS4,
Hmm.
but I could be wrong. But I think
Yeah.
that was the case.
So I will, and you don't have to run a trailer for this one. Just quickly, I think that we'll see Outer Worlds 2 without a doubt. That's going to be the big. I think that's actually going to be the game they do a deep dive on after the show. So of course that's going to be there. My prediction is going to be November release date. Have it lined up for right around that holiday season. I'm sure you'd probably want to get October, um, sometime before the Game Awards and shit like that. But also, October is always pretty damn packed with people trying to get their game in right before that holiday window. So I
They
don't know,
have they have
November.
Call of
I think
Duty now, right? Which is in
that's
November.
true.
Would you
Yeah,
like if you're controlling that, like you that's your release? Are you gonna really want to be hindering? Like you'd rather compete with competitors rather than your own product, right?
that's true. Yeah. Well, didn't they launched Call of Duty last year in October, didn't they?
I have
Let's
no
see.
idea. Usually it's a
Like,
November release, is my knowledge
yeah.
of it. Could have been an
Yeah,
October.
last year it was October 25th, so late October.
Hmm.
I wonder if they're going to try to stay consistent with that or go back to November. But yeah, you definitely don't want to be anywhere near Call of Duty's blast radius.
No, no. But yeah,
Um,
I could see that. They're obviously
yeah,
covering the Outer Worlds in some capacity.
totally. But for that's just kind of a obvious a given. But for one that to actually dive a little bit more into, Toys for Bob. I know that people are wanting the Spyro, like a new Spyro game from Toys for Bob. We know that they're working on something that is being funded by Xbox. So I'm assuming this is something that you could kind of consider first part. I don't, you know, first party, second party, however you want to consider it. But we'll keep it in the first party space. I
Hmm.
kind of hope it's just a new IP from them. I'm down for a new Spyro, no doubt. But if I could pick anything, I'd just like to see them kind of flex their creativity and come up with something brand new.
Yeah.
I know that everybody is people are very very tied to their nostalgia, and I am as well, of course. Like I don't want to see Capcom stop making Resident Evil, and so like there are those franchises where it's like, yeah, it'd bum me out to not see a new Resident Evil game and to see Capcom pivot to something else. But at the same time, I kind of think that we're getting into a period with the industry where we're relying on nostalgia so much that it's kind of spooky to me. Like the amount of remasters and
Hmm.
remakes and ports, and it's just like, holy shit, guys. Like, you
It's
know,
it's the thing where it's the goodwill runs dry really quick with that. Because when they were first being announced, it was met with positivity because it was being wrapped up in a way of like, oh, there's these like 90s games that are truly trapped on consoles. That's
right.
cool. That's cool to see them, when you're talking about like Chrono Trigger and stuff being brought forward and titles like that. But when we're going and remastering, because even I know it's great that PlayStation players are getting Gears and stuff like that, but to me that was kind of like an eye roll moment. It was like,
Mhm.
get Gears One, really?
Yeah.
Okay, you already re-released it, but you're gonna re-release it again, and it's that kind of thing. Like you said, it's just I don't know. It's beginning to get muddy in that space.
Totally. Yeah, and I think that team is incredibly talented. Like, I
Mm.
would want to see them kind of just step out and sure do a 3D action platformer. Like, you can stay in that vein, but it'd just be cool to see something new that really clicks with people because you don't get an Astrobot if you're continuing to try to make Parappa the Rapper and you're continuing to try to make fucking and not that, Zoe specifically, but you get what I'm saying. Like you gotta take these leaps and yeah, I just think that relying so much on brand recognition is a bit concerning to me. So hopefully, and Xbox, I will say, first party Xbox has been pretty good about
I was
funding new IP.
I was literally about to say, as well as putting them on genres that they've not touched, like
Yeah.
with the playground being like, yeah, like because it was like the thing, go make this, okay, and now go make that, and they've done that with a few times now. So they could easily like, I know it's weird to think about, but they could put them on something like an RPG, and they could probably make it work in some way as long as they get the support needed and stuff like that.
Well, yeah, because they were a Call of Duty support team for a
Yeah,
while as well. Like they have an
they
exceptional talent
they
over
end up
there.
making the new Halo.
Right? Yeah, Halo spin-off or some shit. Right? I'd be totally down to see. Well, once again, I'd prefer a new IP, but uh, yeah, they're funding a lot of new IP there. So if they want to go back into the nostalgia wheelhouse with something, I don't necessarily hold it against them too much. But yeah, Toys for Bob, that's my next pick. And I know that they're a weird one because they kind of separated from Xbox after they were purchased under the Activision thing. So it's like, it is what it is.
So how many more first party predictions do you have?
I have probably about four,
Okay, so
four
I
or
have
five.
three.
Okay, perfect.
Did you want me to quickly rattle mine off?
No, we'll bounce back and forth.
Okay. Right. Um so the Activision thing, Blizzard, all that crap, it finally obviously 100% closed now. They lost the appeal. So there's no like worry that it's going to be shaken up. I would hope that that means now because he's been talking about some like there's been job listings of preservation, something like software engineers needed or whatever, and looking for new ways to preserve games. I know that this is probably stretching it a bit. I know they shut down the backwards compatibility program, but that wasn't them running mostly into issues of not being able to do it. It was mostly license based by that end, was my understanding. Like they'd run dry. Everybody that they approached either just lost the license, they couldn't get this, they couldn't get that. With owning Activision's catalog now, there's so many Activision published games that didn't get that treatment that they could easily open up and be like, okay, we'll go and do these. You have the Transformers games, obviously is well known, but there's tons of like little Activision gems here and there. Even something as simple as they there's a 007 game in development, right?
Yep. IO.
Which is like that's never been shown since it's been announced. It's kind of just floating around. But they on the 360 published 007 games. So what better way to also generate interest is go back and bring them forward potentially, um, or make new ones and stuff like that. If you had ties originally, they're a lot more likely to give back and allow projects to be greenlit. It's like, oh yeah, you already proven your track record with it and stuff like that.
Well, if we're gonna stay there, um, because like this is one of my dream picks, but I'll go ahead and I'll throw it into the
Yeah, that
into
was
the
kind of
mix
stretching
now.
it, wasn't it?
Well, no, I mean because this mine is way out there though.
Mm.
I want to see fucking some cool ass physical bundles of the old Activision. Like, for example, it would be so sick to see Ultimate Alliance 1 and 2 bundled together in a physical edition. It would be so sick to see like a X-Men collection with X-Men Legends 1
Mm.
and 2, or like a Deadpool and Wolverine collection with Deadpool and the X-Men, the
Origins.
Wolverine game,
Yeah.
yeah, on 360. or like a Ultimate Edition where you see Hulk Ultimate Destruction paired with Ultimate Spider-Man and like some physical variations. Like that could be some sick shit.
It's unfortunate that it's Microsoft that holds the key to that, because it's that type of thing where like you see this with like Aspire and stuff. Like if Aspire had all that stuff, yeah, man, they'd be
Yeah.
fucking milking that to the bank. They'd be like, yeah, man, bundles, 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 baby, ringing up
Well,
limited
and
run
look,
every single week. Yo, here's a bundle, here's a bundle, here's a bundle. Um, that would be awesome, though.
the thing too is like I know that they leave physical players out in the dry, but if you think about it, when you're specifically going back to these classics, you're directly appealing to 40-year-olds. You know what I mean? People who still kind of have that attachment to
They don't
the
even know what they
nostalgia.
think clouds are just outside when you look up. They don't know what any of this cloud based technology is.
Well, and it's the thing where it's like if you're appealing to that market with the nostalgia, also tie in the nostalgia of the old way that we used to play games. And it's so funny. I just went on this full tirade about we need to get away from nostalgia. And now I'm like, but don't take away the boxes. That's but even if it is just a PlayStation and Switch thing, you know,
Yeah.
where that would be such a crazy fucking thing to do where you skip your own console for the physical releases. But there's rumor, I don't know if you saw the rumor, I don't know if there's anything to it, but there's rumor that Gears of War Reloaded is skipping Xbox physically and it's just coming to PS5
Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me.
physically.
The thing is that I think that's bittersweet news that people don't know yet. It's great that's announced. It's probably going to be handled in the same way that Doom was handled,
Yep.
same way that Indie was handled. This is the thing of like you had that stigma floating around that all Xbox games were like duds on discs, and it wasn't the that wasn't true 90% of the time. And I don't know why they've gone full force. It's like they've turned around and gone, well, that's the stigma, so we may as well just go full send. And it's just like, what are you doing? Why? Why are you doing that? It's so yeah, but yeah, I
Totally.
hope that it gets a physical because, like I said, I'm all for physical support. It would suck that if it skips Xbox, but I don't know. They don't really care for the most part about physical preservation because that was the thing as well as when people were trying to pick out his words and trying to light a fire up on his ass and being like, "You cared about preservation." It's like, well, clearly this is the thing of when you let headlines like take the meaning out of something, and it's just like he never said a single word about physical preservation. He never mentioned anything about it when he was interviewed. That was never a word that uttered out of his mouth. He was talking about digital preservation, which is still a form of preservation, and that's what he's running with, and that's what he wants, and what he
Yeah.
clearly respects. It's annoying.
But
It's
even
annoying.
then, they don't really give a fuck about preservation because they got a damn system that's a DRM.
Oh
Like
yeah,
it's
yeah.
to boot it up, it's DRM dependent. It's here's the thing. Is like as long as those games are purchasable on Steam and on GOG
That's
and
yeah.
on
That's what
yeah,
that's his version of pres. That's the thing of what I was talking about. Is that it doesn't they want to make a foolproof basically piece of software that's compatible with everything moving forward so they can shut the stores down but they can keep bringing it forward because that's what they
yeah.
run into issues with, and that's what they're viewing as preservation, which to a degree, yeah, that is preservation.
We didn't talk about State of Decay 3, did we?
We did not.
Let's we got to see something on this, right? I mean, we saw it last year. It got a good bit of gameplay, looked a little bit wonky, and I think that's kind of everyone's question is like how I mean, it looked better than it's ever looked before, but still there's like it's
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying? Like it looked like it had more of a actual third person shootery kind of feel to it and shit. They definitely are making some enhancements, adjustments, yada yada yada, but it's been a while for this thing. So I'm wondering if this is like a 2026 release. I kind of assume so.
Yeah, the my worry with the game is that they've had ties to Xbox for so long, Because I believe it was a arcade exclusive, that first game. It never launched on PlayStation, right? It
Yeah.
was an
Well,
X.
they own Undead now.
No, but at that time they didn't own them.
Oh,
Is my point. So it was an arcade exclusive, and it was a very wonky, janky game. And then obviously they purchased them with the potential that they had. And like I really enjoyed State of Decay too, but it took years to like get that ball rolling to a state where it was like decent to play. Like it was a very rough game in the beginning with very weird disjointed mechanics and stuff like that. And with what we talk about of like being acquired and you like the sky's the limit and stuff. The thing that worries me is that we're not seeing enough improvement in all that time. This is a big improvement from State of Decay 2, but it still feels I don't know, it feels way too low a budget than what it should be at this stage. Like if you've been under that umbrella for that long, because you look over the fence at like Obsidian and stuff, and I know that they're technically better pedigree and stuff, and maybe that's what's hindering them. But you'd think, hire people to fill in them gaps, then give them a little bit more
yeah.
staffing and stuff like that, because I know that this isn't what should have happened, but this is what happens with the internet. It was being compared to The Last of Us because it is for the casual audience. You have PlayStation owns a zombie IP, Xbox owns a zombie IP. It's laughable when you're comparing the two. And I know they do two different things. One is more of a sandbox experience, and one is more of a narrative driven experience. But that doesn't matter to a lot of people when you're trying to just casually consume games. When you're looking over and being like, okay, well, I'm gonna go for PlayStation then because that looks so much better. That looks like it respects more of my time and stuff. So I'm hoping that when we next see it, it looks a lot stronger than what was shown.
Yeah, and it's the interesting thing where I wonder how much of that internet talk is going to matter when it launches day one on PlayStation. It's like y'all were touting, your love for The Last of Us over State of Decay, but is State of Decay about to sell fucking gangbusters on PlayStation? And that could be a tie into the prediction as well. Like, do we see State of Decay 1 and 2 drop on PlayStation? I
That would be
imagine
really good.
probably.
That would be a very low effort thing for them to do, but it's the type of thing of like I don't think the IP has the fanfare. Like even Gears, it was a little bit of a surprise, um, to be honest,
I think
but it
I
made
think
sense at the same time. State of
yeah, the
Decay, yeah.
in my opinion, the move is just to launch that third one. Like you don't have to have any sort of continuity with State of Decay. Just fucking drop. It's gonna be a brand new thing, a standalone experience. Just drop the new one on there and keep it moving. Um, so yeah, I guess my hope is like I don't really want The Last of Us level fidelity. Like I'm not
Oh
expecting
no,
anything like that, but I think it'd be cool just to have kind of not saying on par with Resident Evil, but something more akin to that. Like something that just looks like a solid third person shooter, but you also have badass fucking survival mechanics and systems and in-depth kind of role-playing elements, to some degree survival elements.
yeah. It may have sounded like I was being a little bit harsh on it, but it's the thing of it's the third game in the series.
Yeah,
And when you're leading off with saying like, "Oh, it's upgraded," and it's like, well, we need to see that because to me, it still looks wonky
right,
when you're
totally.
looking at it. And this is somebody I loved State of Decay 1, played it, played State of Decay 2, loved it. I will play State of Decay 3 and probably love it, but it's the type of thing of like if you're presenting it as something being upgraded and it's this is the best we've ever done. It's like it's really not as big of a jump as I would hope as a fan of the series. So like yeah, I would love to see it being on par with like a Resident Evil 2. That would be incredible.
Totally. Well, what is your next pick on the board? We're kind of getting to the bottom of the first party. I got a couple more left.
I have one left. And I don't
Perfect.
I should have probably grabbed a trailer for this because that's a pretty big announcement, but it is what it is. I think people will know. We don't really need to show a little spaceship flying across. See, there you go. That's your thing.
Uh,
Starfield. It's PlayStation. I
at
think
the showcase.
I think so.
Yeah.
I think it's about time. You're talking about it's had one expansion and they've got a. I don't know if they've announced whatever that second expansion is, but it's got another one that's meant to be coming at some point. What better time? Bethesda's name is floating pretty highly. A lot of people aren't
Yeah,
giving credit to Virtuous. They claim that it's Bethesda that did it. To the people who don't, look as deep as us, so what better way to capitalize on that and give PlayStation players loading screens in space?
that's the thing too, is like with the PS5 Pro, is this going to be like how much of a significant boost is this going to be to play Starfield on a PS5 Pro compared to a Series X? Are a lot of those loading screens going to be, and instead of the 45 seconds that I was waiting, is it going to be 15
Um,
seconds? And
I mean, it's available on PC, and they had them problems. So
yeah, I guess that is true.
I
Yeah.
I think it. This is why I'm always critical of it. I think it's just more down to an engine problem, more so than anything hardware.
Yeah.
It's just their bones are anemic.
Yes, that creation
They need
engine,
to drink
boy.
some calcium, some milk.
Ugh. Yeah, that game is fucking fantastic though, in my opinion. I loved Starfield, so I hope it does well on PlayStation. I I I think if you play that damn story, you're gonna have a good time. So hopefully people will jump in, play the story, and enjoy it. Great gameplay. Um, I got, let's see, Double Fine. So kind of similar here with Toys for Bob. Like I'm totally down for a Psychonauts 3, of course. Psychonauts 2 was excellent. I'd absolutely be down to play Psychonauts 3.
Did you finish
But
it? Sorry to interrupt.
yeah, yeah.
I,
Yeah,
mm,
you didn't finish it?
this is a weird. It's like, sorry to go on the side tangent. I felt the same way I did about Beyond Good and Evil. I don't know what it is. Like I was enjoying Asper, I just can't. I don't know. There's no pull. It's like when I'm playing it, it's like, yeah, this is kind of fun, and then I turn it off, and it occupies no part of my mind. Do you ever get that feeling
Hmm.
with any games?
Oh yeah, fuck yeah. I just did that with Dave the Diver. I just did that with well, there was another game I just booted up for like 20 minutes. Revenge of the Savage Planet. I That happens to me all the time, yeah.
But yeah, it's just I was playing it. I was like, man, these are really creative levels. This is really cool. This is really interesting. And then I turned it off, and it just
Not to go on a full tangent here, but it really is so timing dependent, man.
mm,
Because like there will be times where I'm craving a 3D platformer, and there's times where I absolutely have no interest in it. There's times where, like right now, if I'm being honest, I want to play Red Dead 2 so bad. And like I'm worried that Doom and the Precinct and a lot of these other games are kind of gonna fall victim to my desire to play Red Dead 2. And it's like, am I gonna end up finishing Doom? I think I will for the channel. But this is one of those moments where if I didn't have this channel, I'd play Doom and the Precinct and all that later. After that GTA 6 trailer, I'm craving some Red Dead 2, and I just downloaded it, so it's sitting there tempting me. But yeah, dude, you know what I think would be really cool? I would love to see. We don't see themed games. Like holiday themed games often enough. I'd love to see what Double Fine could do with like a Christmas setting or even, Halloween,
oh
whatever. Like,
yeah. Oh, they wait,
yeah.
wait, they aren't they? Didn't they
Eh,
make Costume Quest?
Yeah,
Yeah.
they so it's
I'm not
but
saying I
here's the
want
thing.
Costume Quest free. I want that
Yeah.
to. I was just saying, yeah, that was a very good like a thread of logic to apply to them because they've already done something like that. So it was a very good point.
Totally. Yeah, it's my thing is like it would be cool to see some kind of biggish, not saying AAA, but like Psychonauts 2 adjacent level production, polish, gameplay, hour count, all of that, where it's like a full game where, Batman Arkham Origin style, where when you're wandering around the world, it's constantly snowing and you got the decorations all over the place and the snowmen and the Christmas trees and the lights and the parades. Like, I don't know. It would just be cool to see that drop December 7th, 2025.
Wow,
And
we're hitting this with not even predictions. That's strong. Damn.
what if what if all of this comes to fruition? Like, and people are this motherfucker he has the inside scoop, and I literally swear to God, every single thing I just pull straight out of my. I've never had an inside scoop about anything, and this is the one thing that I get right, where it's to the date, to the fucking. But think about how sick that would be on December 7th. You sit down to play whatever the hell this game is, and it's like you are so in the vibe of Christmas, or if it's Halloween, it comes out October 7th, and you play it for the next bit, and you're just, I don't know, man. That would be so sick.
They could do such crazy stuff with it. They're so creative, and at the same
Yeah.
time, they don't. Do you know? They kind of remind me of like Team Cherry. Like they don't put anything out. Like they did Psychonauts 2. What was before that? It was the what remasters?
No,
Which
so here's the thing. They take forever for their big games, but for their small shit, they crank out games nonstop, and then they got acquired, and then it's been like
mm,
much slower. So that kind of makes me think that they're working on something
yeah,
big again,
yeah.
which gives me like I'm kind of excited that it's taken long because for the longest they were doing games annually.
Mm. Yeah, that's what I meant from the point of them being acquired. They haven't pushed anything out really, other than Psychonauts
Except,
2. Um,
yeah.
so it kind of surprises me as well is that of all the IPs they've dropped, not Double Fine themselves, and but like under the Xbox umbrella, I would have thought like South of Midnight would have been made by them as well. That
Right.
felt like a very Double Fine esque game. So yeah, I don't. Would you want to see Psychonauts 3 or something new from them?
I'm always team something new, but I'd love to see either. I think that seems so talented, and hopefully we get a documentary with it as well. That damn Double Five Productions, the fucking what, not Double Five, Two Player Productions.
It
The Psych Odyssey was so good.
Yeah, it's funny because I think I skipped over it because I didn't shout out Double Fine. Did I at all?
Did you have one?
I did have one. I said Brutal Legend remaster because Jack
Oh,
Black
that'd be
won't
good.
shut the hell up about it. Whenever he's like interviewed about it, yeah, man, Tim Schafer hit me up
Nah.
and doing that. So I could see that because again, it hurts my soul every single time these words leave my mouth because I would much rather see new entries. That's the big difference between us is that you like new IP. I don't actually mind sequels. I'm so sick to death of remasters. But
Yeah,
I understand why they have to exist. They are the money makers. They just print money for very little effort. So I could see like a Brutal Legend remaster. Um,
totally.
so yeah, because I think they've done new
I
songs, whatever it is, Jack Black's band and stuff that they could also insert in.
Oh, nice. Yeah, Tenacious D.
Yeah,
Shit, yeah. So I have actually a couple more. I are you
I'm
you're
done with first party.
okay, so I'll hit these back to back. Um Contraband. I once again second party relationship, but Avalanche is incredibly, incredibly fucking talented. Mad Max, Just Cause, yada yada yada. And Contraband is going to be, I'm assuming you're moving Contraband across I don't really know where it's set, but you're gonna be either dealing in drugs or guns. I assume that that would be the contraband that you're moving. So it sounds very GTA clone-esque from the little bit that we know, and we know that they have created a GTA clone in the past with Just Cause, and those games were fucking really, really good. Mad Max was really, really good. Like this team is damn good at that style of game, driving around cars, shooting shit, punching shit. Mad Max does not get nearly enough credit for its melee combat. The melee combat in that game is really, really solid. It'd be cool to see vehicular combat back with Contraband. And I don't know, there's just not a lot of GTA clones on the market, GTA competitors, whatever you want to call it, open world crime sandboxes. I don't know if that's what this is going to be, but just games when you're in a 3D open world space driving cars and it's not a racing game, whatever the hell genre that is. Yeah, I think we're going to see it. I think we're going to be surprised by how good it looks. I think this is one that we probably won't get a date for as well because all we have is that very, 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 very nothing burger trailer. Um, yeah, Contraband. Hope we see it. Hope we see some gameplay. I'm doubtful on some of those fronts, but I hope that whatever we see looks like okay, they're actually they're creating something special here. I hope whenever we leave the showcase, we're going, ooh, I wasn't excited for that going in, but I am damn excited for that leaving.
Yeah, I'm still hesitant on Contraband, as one of the very first things they show in the trailer is co-op, as the very first thing that they hit home about. So when I'm thinking Contraband and that kind of spiraling around, and then you add co-op to the mix, I'm thinking, oh, Payday, really?
Ah, yeah,
Payday. Obviously, the difference is that the second word that they show in that trailer is open world, which Payday isn't.
right.
Payday is location based. So I don't know. I think Payday's fan base is up for grabs after their botched launch. Um, so if they can somehow crack an open world Payday thing and scoop all them players up and get new people in, I think it'll be a fun game for those people. But I wouldn't be one that would jump in. Payday's not my type of thing. So
Yeah. Yeah, I hope that the co-op thing is either optional, which I don't think it will be because I don't think they'd be marketing as like the main beat if it was optional. Um, but yeah, I'm excited for it, man. The next one I have on the board is Tony Hawk, of course, will be there with 3 and 4, the remaster for Tony Hawk 3 and 4. And it'll be there just kind of as a marketing beat. Hey, it's available now on Game Pass, or I think the showcase might be a little bit before it drops, whatever. If it's going to be like, hey, it's coming to Game Pass very, very soon. And then I think that I I think that like at the end of the trailer, there will be some sort of Easter egg that teases Tony Hawk Underground
yep.
1. I don't think it's going to be like a direct, how we're talking about Fallout, yeah, transitioning
Oh
from the
no no,
shot.
because he
Yeah.
tweeted it right that
Yeah,
he wanted to do the next. He said he was going to hit up active whoever whatever his contacts and try and get that next one. So
yeah.
he has interest in it. So
Yeah. And Tony Hawk Underground is going to be it's going to be an undertaking for that one. That game is a lot more complex than 1 through 4. It's a open world, story, voice acting, creative characters, getting off your board. Like there's a lot of moving parts for Tony Hawk Underground. But I think there's going to be some sort of teaser in there that's kind of not even a teaser as much as like an Easter egg that is really easy to decipher. Something that'll be
Tony Hawk just
yeah,
walks underground and then that just goes and that's it.
yeah, or someone like wearing the same kind of Lakers knockoff jersey that I'm forgetting the name of the main villain dude, but just like something that is so easily identifiable with Tony Hawk Underground.
Mm-hmm.
Um okay. And then my last one on the board, single player Blizzard RPG teaser. So something that is, I know a lot of people were talking about the uh, a StarCraft, like a fully single player StarCraft game, like very not necessarily linear, but something that is fully single player and marketing as like you can only play it single player, this big production, cinematic value, all of that shit. Um, I imagine that would make a ton of money. But then there's also been rumor that there is a new Blizzard RPG, like a new IP in development. So I, once again, I'm always going to be more down for a new IP than anything in existing franchises. I just like seeing new life breathed into this industry. But either which way, I think that'd be one of those big kind of if it is a StarCraft anything in the StarCraft space, that's a huge announcement, even if it's just a new game in general.
Yeah, when was the last title that dropped? It's been a while, right?
It's been a while, yeah.
So it's for me as like someone who I never played StarCraft. Um, I find it always interesting if they ever revisit IPs like that to see how much it gets like buzz reported on it by like outlets, but also when it actually drops, like how well it sells. Because obviously you have stuff like Dead Space that you would have expected to probably have sold more copies than what it did, that remake, and it
Mhm.
just didn't. Even though the announcements of it was fairly favorable, people were pretty hyped about it. Apparently, outlets were fairly favorable with it, and then it just didn't sell at all. It was a very weird. I don't know if you felt that way. It was a very one of the weirdest releases I think I've ever seen in my life. Of just being like, wow, I, I don't know how that failed.
Yeah, I agree, man.
Strange.
It's been over 10 years since we've gotten a new StarCraft game, which is fucking insane. So that would be one that I think would create some buzz. But do you want to hit into our third party territory here?
Yep. So this is at least for me. I don't know if it's for you. Mine's a lot shorter. I have one,
Okay,
two,
perfect.
three, four, five, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10
You
ish.
actually got almost the exact same as me.
Oh, terrible minds think alike.
I
Did you want to kick it off, or did you want me?
go ahead. I just rambled for like 8 fucking hours.
Um. So we saw, I think, fairly recently, Warner Brothers done more like cutting and stuff. I think they cancelled something. Um. So they're in a dire situation. Their games division, however you want to wrap that up. I could see either a partnership announced, so
Mm,
them stepping in and being like, okay, well, clearly PlayStation is the place to play most Marvel titles. They're struggling as hell. You know, Microsoft throws them a bunch of money. Okay, we have all of DC then at our disposal. Um, that could be interesting, or much less likely, or an acquisition of WB gaming division things because they seemingly want to sell it. I think it's been like reported several times that they're basically looking around and being like, what's the interest like if somebody wanted to buy this stuff out? Because we clearly don't have any idea how to run it. So I could see a partnership maybe, or
yeah.
so it goes acquisition at the very bottom likelihood, the partnership above that, and then something that would be probably much more in the realm of possibly, I don't know, like a Batman game announced, something simple like that to be shown.
Yeah. And I know that the rumor is that Arkham Asylum is being remade from the ground up, which is like, once again, the whole thing of like, good, are we gonna ever get away from this like it was just remastered a few years back. We don't need a fucking remake of Arkham Asylum. It's playable everywhere and it's just fine in its
Mm,
current form. But regardless, my first pick is going to be Final Fantasy 16. I think it is about damn time
you think so?
for, yeah, man, it's got to be at some point,
You,
right? How,
I'll let you present your point, and then I'll give my mild counter as to why I don't
if
think it will show.
if I'm being honest, I don't have much of a point other than goodness gracious. You said you're partnering with Square Enix, or not necessarily partnering, but you're trying to work with Square Enix to get these games available on your platform, and it's like that's a pretty big one. That's a pretty big one. I don't know. I wonder what the negotiation or what the contract reads in terms of how long that it can't go to other platforms. But I don't know. Final Fantasy VII Rebirth is coming to Switch, or
Exactly,
remake is coming to Switch.
exactly, and it still hasn't been uttered the word Xbox in any of them announcements.
So you just think Square's like we don't care to put our big games over there?
It's not that they're just in no rush. They know that Final Fantasy doesn't really have a huge pull over on Xbox. They don't do particularly well. They've never done particularly well. Um, so there's obviously no rush to get that over there. It took them how long to get Final Fantasy 14 onto Xbox and stuff. I do think it will make an appearance, though. I'm not saying that they're not going to bother, but to me, because the reason I never put it there is I think it would be a Tokyo Game Show thing. I think that's when they would
Mm,
announce these types of things. I don't think they would ever. They have such a strong collaboration with PlayStation. I think they want to keep them relationships as strong as possible to the point where you wouldn't want to appear on another on their showcase. Does that make sense?
Yeah, but
It's very business. They kind of remind me of like how Ferrari is portrayed in a lot of things of like they're very driven in their own vision and stuff like that, and it's like you do it our way or you don't do it at all. So I don't
right.
think Microsoft has any bargaining chips whatsoever. They can turn around and go, yeah, we want to work closer with Square Enix, but Square can be like, you know, we'll ring you up in 2 years and see if you pick up the phone because
Side chick.
they really don't care. Like they're much more interested in getting it on Switch, of course, which is smarter.
Yeah, of course.
And I just think that you would probably want to maintain as cozy a relationship as possible with PlayStation to the point where you would be that petty, and I would say petty as is the word I'll use, to the point where you wouldn't put it at their showcase. I could just see it being like, yeah, we you can have it at Tokyo Game Show as the last platform.
Well, let's kind of stay there with our I'll tie right into another one here because it's in that same conversation just of Japanese games in general. Um, it should be about time to see something from the next like Tales of game, like the next big Tales of whatever after Arise. I know they just put out that DLC for Tales of Arise like last year. But I would assume because like they're fairly prolific in terms of their output. Do you think it's about time we see a new Tales of game? Could that be something where they're trying because they want to establish some Japanese presence? And I think Tales of Arise, if I'm not mistaken,
It was fairly popular.
wasn't it on Game Pass? Maybe not day one,
No,
but oh,
I think
okay.
it went there sometime. I don't think it was day one.
Okay.
I could be wrong though. You know, it making me sweat. I don't think it was though. Um, I don't know. I'm also like new to the tech because that was the first Tales game I played, and then obviously went back and did the other ones. I don't. I know there's loads of games, but I don't know how recently they're because it was Vesperia 360, then they remastered it, and then it would have been a Rise.
Yeah, so we got damn, yeah, there's a lot, man. Tales of Vesperia, Tales of Crestoria, Tales of Luminaria, Tales of Arise.
They're not
Yeah, and
console. Are
then
they
it was
console games?
I have no dude, I don't know
They
shit about Tales
uh,
of. Yeah,
poor Tales.
Tale
I don't give a shit
Tales
about
of
them.
Tales of Vesperia's console, Tales of Cristeria is a mobile game.
Hmm.
Tales of Berseria is a console game.
Oh yeah, Bizarria was.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, they got a lot of shit. So I mean, it's been a while, 2021. We're going into 2026. Maybe it's a 2026 game, 2027. Like that's a pretty long time. And I
Yeah,
imagine they're going to stay with that big budget kind of feel of Tales of Arise.
yeah. It's Bandai as well that's publishing it, and they do pump games out. And I will say, I'm a pretty
Yeah.
big fan of Bandai. I think I do like their work. I like that they keep things grounded. They don't seem to let their budgets run wild. This is why they can do decent outputs of stuff. So that's not a bad shout.
Sweet. Well, what you got next, man?
Sweet. Thumbs up of approval. Thank you. Um, hmm. Um, so this isn't technically first party, right? But the new Ninja Gaiden game, that's got to
Right.
probably get re-shown here, right? Even though I know it
Yeah,
got shown in what was it, January or whatever. It wouldn't make sense to skip your own showcase, would it?
I totally forgot about this game. That's a great shout. Yeah, they're doing that brand new
Yep.
Ninja Gaiden game.
It is four, right? Or did I get that wrong? Is it
I
four?
think so. Yep, Ninja Gaiden. Yeah,
Yeah.
4.
So I could see that making an appearance, obviously shown. We already know what it is and stuff like that, but just more of it, just generate as much interest for it as you possibly can.
Yeah. Go ahead and lock that release date down. I don't believe it has an official release date yet, if I'm
So if
not
that
mistaken.
you would imagine so Call of Duty hitting November, Outer Worlds October, September, maybe?
Yeah.
Could you squeeze
Or
that into September or December?
you could do December. Yeah, or you could do fucking October. You know, you could have one at the beginning of October, one at the end of October. I imagine Ninja Gaiden, that's a 8 hour thing. Like it's not going to be something that's going to totally
75
consume
hours.
someone's bro. If I can't believe that Death Stranding 2, not to go into this full thing. As soon as I heard that, I was like, yeah, I'm not buying this. I'm not playing Death Stranding 2 for 75 hours. That was the most unappealing pitch that I've ever heard for that game.
Oh god,
But
what a guy.
Ninja Gaiden 4, that's a great shout. And once again, just kind of tying right there to the Japanese presence. I think they've been trying forever, so hopefully it works well.
Do you have
And Ninja
any?
Gaiden's,
Sorry, do you have any more Japanese? Because I have one more. If we
mm,
want to bundle them all together to keep them all in.
go ahead and hit yours.
So Atlas posted something very recently, and people are kind of trying to pick it apart as to what it means. I can't remember. I'm drawing a blank on whatever they wrote along with it. But it's either gonna. The people are being like, "Oh, Persona 5's being remade again," or are we finally getting information about Persona 6? And it's a weird time to just drop that now with it being so close to the showcase. And then on top of that, how strong their relationship has been with Xbox in recent years. Like Sega's
Totally.
like it's almost like we understand your struggle, sir. We also lost the console. like, let us guide you through these trying times. We wish we had a big brother. Um,
That's fucked.
so, so they're obviously a lot more because when we're talking about Square Enix, that's definitely much more of a PlayStation tied franchise, and they have absurdly deep roots tied to PlayStation. I don't know, man. Sega's getting their roots in there on Xbox as of late. Like you're talking like day one releases for some of their stuff. The fact that one of the Yakuza games, what was it, the Like a Dragon, was a timed exclusive. It didn't even launch day and date with PlayStation. Like they somehow secured that. Like these are
That's
the
right.
types of
Yeah.
things where like the weight shifts and whatever they're whispering into Sega's ear is clearly appealing enough to do that. So it wouldn't actually surprise me if it is a new Persona game, it gets announced at an Xbox showcase, which is unfathomable to think about.
Yeah.
Because you think about how, like, when Persona 5 was announced and everything, and how that was centric towards PlayStation and everything, and how booming that was, how big of a lurch that would be. That would be interesting. Because obviously, Metaphor's out. Don't imagine Metaphor will get an expansion of any kind. They kind of it was the type of thing where, unlike the Persona games, where sometimes they leave a little bit open. I don't know, like everything Metaphor had, it just tied it up. There's not really any like loose ends there. That was an open and shut. I don't even think it will get a sequel. That's just a one of a kind title. Um, so yeah, maybe a new
Yeah.
announcement from them about whatever the hell that was at the showcase.
If Persona 6 got announced there, I mean, that would be huge. I was gonna say that'd be a show closer, but that's the crazy thing about these Xbox showcases is like that actually might not be the most hype announcement at these shows. Like they have been fucking cooking with these showcases lately. Um, so I have one more Japanese centric announcement. Resident Evil 9. I don't really know. I guess I could see it being Summer Game Fest
Hmm.
for Resident Evil 9. I could see that being at Keeley's show. But I also like, yeah, I don't know. I guess it probably would make more sense to pop up at Keeley's show. I don't think Resident Evil and Xbox have ever had some sort of
I mean, they have Capcom ties, but the thing is as well is the thing I would use to probably be like, I don't know about that is you're at so the competition is so fierce for these showcases. If you're talking like Xbox having these strong ass showcases, do you really want to bundle yours in? Like, there's positives and negatives of doing that because you also get to ride that positive wave and be thrown into, oh my god, that was a killer showcase. You can also get
yeah,
buried fairly easy
yeah,
because if they dropped a
that it
Persona in there, oh man, the Persona fans are so much louder than Resident Evil fans. Like that's just they would not shut the hell up about that. I think.
it is crazy. Perception is reality. Resident Evil sells so much better than Persona, but it's like
But their mouths are much
Persona
louder.
fans,
Hmm.
yeah, Persona fans are a loud bunch. Yeah, that is very, very true. Um, and I shouldn't say much better. Yeah, quite a bit better. But
Oh, much better. I don't think that's overstep like thing in it. They're, yeah.
yeah, it is really that's a different topic for a different video. Like the I don't even know how we would position it, but perception versus reality or something like that. Like
Mm.
ooh, like a higher lower sales trivia thing or some shit. Like I don't know. Because there's some franchises out there where it's like you would think they sold 50 million by the way that their audience talks about it. Um, and once again, there's also perceived value just in terms of the quality of some of the games, and Persona definitely is like heralded as one of the great JRPGs of all time. So having that at a showcase is fucking huge. But Resident Evil 9, I mean, people are hyped for that Resident Evil 9. So if you could snag that, that's a big Japanese get. If you could snag a Final Fantasy 16 or a just having a couple of those, because I listen, we understand Xbox sales are down, but you want to have, if you have a console, you still want to have some sort of fucking appeal to the Japanese market. Like that is still a very important
Yeah, and to me, give me the
gaming
damn
market.
games. I've been waiting long enough.
Absolutely. All right, so I still have quite a few more.
Hmm.
Um I'll throw one more out here real quick. No Rest for the Wicked. So this is that game from Thomas Mahler and Moon Studio, I believe is the name. The people who made Ori.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you've seen the recent
Hmm.
kind of yeah, he's been kind of going a little
Guys are
nuclear on
losing the
Twitter.
plot a bit.
I just think that it's probably they seem to be working like fucking maniacs to get this looks like a stupidly ambitious action RPG kind of Diablo inspired title. Um and I would imagine that that's quite the departure once again going from an Ori style game to something this ambitious, and I could see how that's mentally taxing. So I'm not trying to say that I do think some of the shit that he said recently was kind of crazy. Like we're gonna shut our studio down if we don't get positive
See,
reviews. Like that's
no, yeah, or talking about how the negative reviews really like they cause the shuttering of studios, and it's like it's a product, man. It has to be critiqued. Like if people don't
yeah,
like it, they have you can't just say, oh, and use that as a way of guilt tripping people. Because I get it, it's these are jobs. Like when it doesn't sell, but at the same time, it's your job to make the product fun. So if the product isn't fun, that falls on you, the creator. You know, you wouldn't guilt trip somebody for doing a failed like heart transplant just because it's
totally.
stressful. It's like that's your job. So I don't know.
Well, hey,
I'm a lot less kind to that kind of reaction because it's like, if we're looking over the fence and looking at Claire Obscura and that's their first game and that was incredibly ambitious, and you look at the concept stuff as to what they had originally built, you know, they didn't break down on online and stuff. So I don't know.
I guess my
It
thing is
irritates me.
nobody really knew a lot of those Claire obscure people beforehand. Like, so if they were having a breakdown online, we wouldn't have even known about it. But when you are a public figure and you're known, you gotta manage your emotions to some
Mm-hmm.
degree. But I don't know. I try not to be too judgmental about people having a tough time. Because I don't know. We all have fucking tough times, and I don't want to look at someone in their worst and think that's the entirety of that person.
Oh
Because
no,
if I
no.
was,
That's not how I'm
yeah,
looking at it. But there's the type of thing where it's like you probably shouldn't be commenting at this time. That it's
oh,
your
totally,
responsibility to not put yourself in that situation. That's as a
yeah,
responsible adult.
yeah.
It's just go cold. This is
Mm.
why you have PR teams and stuff. Let them handle that shit.
Right.
So
Well, and it's also, I mean, you're negatively impacting a
Yep.
bunch of people who are working for you, and that's where it is kind of shitty, where it's like manage your emotions,
Yep.
get your shit in check. But at the same time, I'm sure you're a okay dude. I don't think you're probably not out there fucking like it's gonna be fine, but get your shit together.
Yep.
But if you need cash, you know who has a lot of cash? Microsoft. And Microsoft got you paid once. Maybe they can get you paid again. No rest for the wicked. Day one Game Pass. That's my prediction.
Ooh.
That'd be a big get. Because that game is like people are
I
excited for that game.
so yeah, it all depends on how they left it, right? Because they left Microsoft Moon Studios, so I don't know what that was like left on, like
Well,
feeling
they didn't.
wise.
I don't think they owned them, right? Like they just owned
No,
Ori
that
and
no, but that's what I mean. Like being working that closely in relationship with it, just being like, no, we're gonna go pave our own way and stuff like that. In the same way that like, because they never did they. I don't. They didn't own Remedy either, did they? They just
no.
owned the IP. So
Mm.
yeah, it all depends on where that lead when whatever relationship you left on will determine whether or not they put that into thing, and we obviously don't know that. So I don't want the game to fail.
Totally.
The game looks incredibly cool as well.
It does look
So
good. Definitely.
hopefully it gets him the positive reviews that he so desires.
I guess I will say like I've never had a crash out on here about, but like there are times where I'll be looking at analytics on the channel and shit, and I'm just like, fuck, man. Yeah, like so there is a part where you can kind of I can sympathize with it's like, fuck, it sucks to work so hard on something and to either have no feedback or bad feedback or like so. But once again, I understand the stakes are much lower on my end, and I'm yeah. So I'm not
Watch the
saying why.
damn video, otherwise we can't come on.
I mean, but
It
it's
just
true. Like
yeah,
I'm
you
not
do
trying
obviously have
to.
them feelings from time. Like that's natural, but it's the kind of thing where you
Yeah,
keep that inside because like, I think that's not controversial to say. We do video ideas and we come off finishing it and we're like, man, that felt good to make, and then you put it out there and it's like fucking bombed. What the fuck, man? Why
yeah,
is that doing
and
like the second worst video we've ever done? That doesn't make any sense.
exactly. And we work so hard on it. And it's like we think it's a high quality thing. And it's so I don't know. I try to lend some of that sympathy there. Obviously, I have much less pressure on my shoulders. So I think that also factors into me not crashing out and fucking going on. Like, so I just try to put myself in his shoes.
Hmm.
That's a lot of fucking pressure to be under. You're talking about tens of millions of dollars, people's jobs, and like yeah, not sleeping at all, crunching like hell. I don't think he's probably in a good mental state. I don't want to, I don't even really like talking about the human element of it because it is totally, I don't know this guy from Adam's House Cat. So, but I hope the game comes out. I hope the team makes some cash. I hope they do well because I don't know. You pursue your dreams and you always hope that someone can pursue theirs and have success. But if you can have success by getting a Microsoft bag, then go ahead and get it, buddy. If you got to resort back to Daddy Microsoft, then resort back to him.
Yeah,
Sometimes it doesn't hurt to
no shame in
to
that.
hit up Satya, hit up Phil, be like, hey, we're fucking struggling here.
Hey Phil,
Throw us
remember
a
that platformer we made you? Remember them good times? Can we have
what
some
you got
money?
next, man?
All right. I had to quickly run through an ad on this. Right, my choice, right? Next.
Yes, sir.
So they've had extremely strong partnerships with, well, funny enough, it's Sega again. I forgot about that. They actually own the thing, Football Manager. They publish the Football Manager games. Sports Interactive are the
Mm.
people that make them, but Sega actually publish it. So they've obviously put out a ton of these console releases for Xbox. I think it started in 2020, and they've done yearly releases up until last year. They chose to overhaul their engine of the game, put it into Unity, and boy oh boy have they bitten off way more than they can chew. it got delayed, and then cancelled. Um, so you would hope that with that extra year, they should be ready to go for a, I think it's like October, November release for the Football Manager games. They constantly show these off on Xbox first. I don't know if they've ever. I mean, it's only just recently began coming over to PlayStation. It might have been
Mm.
the last release that was the first one. But yeah, next Football Manager, I think it needs to have some good marketing, and by putting it in a strong showcase, because I know that you're not a Football Manager person and you don't interact with that fan base. They are pissed at the moment by how it's been handled. With you talking about the human element and stuff, like the spokesperson that come out handling that situation, handle it very very poorly for the most part. Basically, dodging, and it's the type of thing where when you have a community that's so online based and so creator content focused, when it's screwing over their content creators on top of that, it's their job. You
Mm.
know, their big payout for the year as Football Manager content creators is when that new game launches. They then have the most amount of income, and then they kind of have to ride that all the way into the next year. So by basically canceling a game, you've screwed over tons of people. So there's, hopefully they've got their stuff together and it's just business as usual and just get them yearly releases back out. Um, and hopefully it makes an appearance at this showcase. Whatever they end up naming it, if they just end up naming it Football Manager and going for a reboot, or just going back to the yearly named things.
Well, so staying right there on the exact same page as Football Manager, Mixtape, the next game from Beethoven and Dinosaur, a game all about
Yep,
the
makes
19
logical sense to me.
I this was supposed to come out, I think. Yeah, this is supposed to come out in 2025 if I'm not mistaken. I think that's at the end of the trailer. It says, holiday, or I don't think it says holiday 2025. I think it just says
Oh, it's
2025. But
this
my prediction,
game. Do you want to
yeah,
know a funny story? Oh, I keep interrupting, my bad. Do you want to know a funny story though?
hit me. Go
I
ahead.
thought, 1 second. I need to get the game. I can't remember what the hell the game was called.
All right, I'll give my
Oh
pitch
no, no,
for
no,
you.
Dustborn. I
Ah,
thought this was Dustborn,
well,
and it very much wasn't Dustborn. Or
uh,
Dustborn wasn't this. Because I was like,
that,
I could have sworn there was a game that did something, and then when I was looking it up, I was like, oh,
oof.
you mother.
Oh, so when you bought Dustborn, you thought it
Yes,
was going to be mixtape.
yes,
Oh,
yes. I don't know why I mixed them two up, and I was like, why is it getting so bad? Like the trailer for this game didn't look all that bad. It was fun, like music stuff. Because I'd heard, I think there was
okay.
like a title saying that it was like music something, and I was like, okay, it's finally out. This is why you need to do your research, folks. Otherwise, you end up buying a Dustborn and looking like a prized prat.
So this is actually coming from the team that made a game you really did enjoy, The Artful Escape.
That's what I, yeah. Yep.
Yep. And yeah, there's looking like there's some supernatural elements in this one, and there's some cool, like, this just has all the vibes in the world. I'm assuming holiday 2025, great holiday game right here.
Yeah,
You're in your
2025.
cozy. Oh, it says that at the
Yeah,
stinger at
at the
the
end.
okay.
Coming 2025 to PS5.
Nice. It got revealed at Xbox's show last year, so it'll definitely be on Game Pass and all of that as well. But mixtape shout out.
Oh, I couldn't think of the name of it either. I never found out the name. I couldn't find it. So I'm so glad that you've illuminated me.
Yeah, man, I'm pumped for that game. I really enjoyed The Artful Escape a lot.
Oh, what a mistake. Ramp, Hollow Knight. It'll make an appearance. Moving on, because that's
You
about as
think
much.
so?
Yeah, that was
Ooh.
the kind of joke I was going for of just moving on. Like I think it's going to be that with what they did with the Switch thing. It'll just be thrown in there and then just not acknowledged.
Damn, man,
I
that
think
would
they'll throw it
be
in towards the end in a smattering of like small game, like coming, like, Hollow Knight. It's just like, you guys, I don't know what goes on in your head.
if I think if it's there, it gets a release date. I think that I don't know, man. I'm kind of thinking it comes out this year. And I know go ahead and throw the fucking clown go ahead and throw the clown paint on me. Go ahead and throw the I'll wear the clown shoes and the clown like, I get it. But like what the fuck could it unless you're just chilling and enjoying the fruits of your labor, which I respect
Well, they're
the hell out
Australian,
of.
right? They're just
Oh,
chilling.
are they?
Yeah, because it's being launched at
Nice.
an Australian museum, I believe. Um,
Wonderful.
that weird thing, news story that dropped or whatever it was. So I think they're just living. They obviously saw their soaring success, and I don't care. Just gonna sit here, put a shrimp on the barbie, and just ride it out. But yeah, they. It is annoying when titles like this happen, where it's like obviously it borders onto the thing of like you respect that the creator saw that success, but it's like, all right, can you give back to the fans? Because you're kind of riding this, especially for how long Hollow Knight 2's been floating around. It's a bit absurd.
Yeah, I do agree. Um, Midnight Fight Express
Mm,
was a game that came to Game Pass a couple years ago
it
from the
was.
creator Jacob Dwinsel. And I believe it's just a solo dev. Maybe I might have had some assistance, but it was mostly a solo developed title. And I think this game is kind of exceptional. Like it's really, really fun.
Mm,
And this is the game I was talking about earlier where I do want some of those pulled back camera perspectives that are still third person action games,
hmm.
but not the God of War, not the over the shoulder, not the ultra cinematic. So I just want to see another one of these from him. Like this shit, it's just fun. So interactive, so many objects all over the place and different weapons and it's just batshit carnage. And I had a lot of fun with Midnight Fight Express. I once again, new IP, Midnight Fight Express 2, I'm down for whatever. Just something that looks and plays like this.
A Rush Hour game
Right.
just
Absolutely.
popped into my because I was like, oh, John Wick, and I was like, I don't care about John Wick.
You're not a John Wick fan?
I'm gonna probably annoy people by saying this. I think it's overrated as hell. I not only do I think the films are overrated, I think Keanu Reeves is a. I like him as a person. He's an awesome person. I think he's a little bit overrated as an actor,
Hmm.
but I'm not a some cinema buff, so
Right. Yeah, I wouldn't
uh,
even know where to begin. My favorite Keanu
maybe he
Reeves
turns
movie.
around in them circles and they're like, yeah, he does this perfectly, he choreographs this and stuff. It's just like I don't know, kind of feels a bit flat. It's the same feeling I have with. I think we've talked about it when we was doing Indiana Jones. Like Harrison Ford, I don't think was the greatest actor either, but
Oh, I agree with that. Yeah.
to each their own.
I've never thought that I've never watched a Harrison Ford performance and been like moved by it at all. But I mean that's not really the performance he necessarily goes for. Um my favorite Keanu Reeves movie of all time is The Replacements. It's a football movie
Okay.
from the year 2000. It's just stupid silly comedy. Um See, I can't I'm definitely not a film buff whatsoever. I I guess my favorite Keanu Reeves performance might actually be in Cyberpunk now, but you know, in the actual film space, The Replacements is really good. It doesn't get enough credit in terms
Yeah,
of
it's got
football.
like
Not necessarily.
fairly low ratings and not many ratings at all as well. It's weird.
Yeah. It's a good sports movie. I'm a big sports movie guy. It's just a comfort food sort of item that whenever I'm wanting to just totally relax the brain, I'll throw on a sports movie, and that's a good one to put on.
Hmm.
So, what did you have next on your board? I have one, two, three, four more picks.
It would have helped if I didn't lock the phone after looking up the replacements. We did that. We did that. We did that. Did that. Did that. One, two, three, four, five ish. But I can rapid
Perfect.
fire a lot of them. They're not like ones that you can that are worth zoning in on. So would you like me to rattle? some of them off
Yeah,
quick.
yeah. Go ahead and hit yeah.
Um,
However you want to roll it out.
so Crusader Kings 3 has been very tied heavily to Xbox. These past few years, they obviously built the game from the ground up to sustain itself on console. They do a very good job on that. I want to also throw praise their way. Really, really well done to Paradox and whoever. I don't know if it was their initial team or if they've brought someone in to do it. So whoever did that, kudos to you. But they're constantly. I think there's so many expansions ahead on the PC version compared to the console version. So I assume that content for that will be announced to pull over to Xbox, and it would make sense to put something because you can't have obviously a showcase full of heavy hitters. There has to be them little smaller announcements and stuff.
Yeah.
So Crusader Kings 3 DLC, I could see the Dune MMO being announced for consoles because that seems to be doing really well on a PC at the moment. I watched Co Carnage play a bunch of it. Dude, it looks fun. Like I kind of go back and forth between MMOs and stuff.
Yeah.
And when I was looking at it, I was like, I kind of want to play it. um, it's the thing of like when I was thinking about it, Dune is so difficult to probably get locked down as a narrative game. This way of doing it, I think, does it really well. And it gives them a lot of freedom. And then I think we maybe see more on that Rainbow Six or Star Wars tactics game.
Mhm.
Maybe shine a bit
Yeah.
of light on them as the things that have been announced. They didn't really set the world on fire. You kind of need to throw them out to the wall a few times to get them to stick, per se. So,
Yeah. Yeah, it's I I'm assuming that that Star Wars game is somewhat early 2026. Like uh we saw a little bit of gameplay of it. I know that they're going to really hammer home the cinematics. That's top priority for like Midnight Suns. I remember multiple trailers of Midnight Suns being 12 seconds of gameplay, a minute and 40 seconds of cinematics, and I imagine they're going to do that same thing with the marketing beat for Zero Company, the Star Wars game,
and then
with it
whatever that
being both.
Rainbow Six game was called, can't remember what it was
Yeah,
called.
I don't know if they have an official name for it. I could be wrong.
It's
Um,
what the fuck are you doing, Ubisoft? Are you
right.
mad? How many does that leave you with then? Because I've got two
I
now.
so Okay, cool. Well, I'll run through a couple quick ones that I
Mm-hmm.
don't have a ton to say on. Neon White, the team who made Neon White,
Yeah.
I I, I think that did pretty damn well. I could absolutely see a Neon White 2 coming out. I think that that's kind of like a speed runner's dream game, and those style of games kind of gradually gain popularity over time because they're being streamed and like that has a pretty solid community, a solid base who bought that. So I wouldn't be surprised to see another one of those. And then as well, fucking Tunic. Tunic did exceptionally well, and that was a day one Game Pass game, if I'm
Mm,
not mistaken.
yeah,
And that
surprisingly.
I remember that was like up for a while. People were assuming that might be a game of the year contender. Like that was a beloved title. So something else from that creator. Once again, a new IP am welcoming. I think that when you see talent like that, you probably want to invest in them. So if I'm Microsoft and I get this game day one on Game Pass, I'm probably going to go back and, hit up the creator and be like, "Hey, we'll fund your next thing, or we'll pay the shit out of you to return to Game Pass. Give us that good word of mouth."
It's what they don't do enough of, and I wish they would. It's something that Sony does so well with the likes of is it Scar Team? The people who made Salt and Sanctuary? Is it Scar Team? Scar something?
I don't know.
I think they're like a couple, like a husband and wife, and they made Salt and Sanctuary. They also made a, I think it was Dishwasher Samurai or something back on the 360. Some other weird spin-off games. But they partnered heavily with like PlayStation. Um, they helped them keep it afloat, and that's the thing is when you give somebody a lifeline like that to the point where it's like this game isn't going to set the world on fire, but having that completely off your shoulders to just do what you want to do, they happily were just like, yeah, we'll just. I don't even think they tied like a contract down for Salt and Sacrifice. It was just like, yeah, man, we'll put it on your console exclusively for as long as you want it. Like
Yeah,
that's the kind of good will that you garner by doing stuff like that. Um, so yeah, I wish that they would do that a little bit more, and because I don't want them to acquire this Tunic developer kind of thing, but like help them out to the point where
totally.
it's human reaction then to be like, yeah, man, I'd love to stay on your platform or prioritize your platform.
Well, I got another one we can roll straight into, which is very similar with Replaced, a game that's been being shown forever with Xbox directly, marketing it and Xbox really trying to hammer this thing home as like a something to look forward to on its platform and its ecosystem. And I think it looks absolutely fucking stunning from the art direction, from the, you know, definitely curious about the gameplay. They have action elements in there. It's not just going to be a side-scrolling kind of platformer or puzzle solving. Like they do have action elements. Curious how that's going to play out in gameplay. But they've been marketing the shit out of this thing, and they're trying to associate it with Xbox. I think for the longest it was an exclusive. I don't know if that's still the case, but I'd like to see more on this. I know last year people went hands on with it and had positive impressions of it, so I'd like to see a release date for this thing. It's been a while.
I was about to say, when did this last get shown? Because I don't even remember ever seeing this.
Yeah, I think the first time it got shown was 2022, if I'm not mistaken, at an Xbox showcase.
Looks good.
It does. Yep.
I really like the look of this. Dope.
Yeah.
That's on my radar now. If I can remember what that is and I don't buy the wrong game.
Yeah, right. Because they have another one called Routine. Routine and Replace. They're both kind of these games that are somewhat in development hell.
I'm sure I won't make that mistake again. Probably. Did you want to rattle off any more? Or
You got two left?
I've got two left. I don't think we have footage for either of these, so I can rattle them off quick.
All right.
They are fairly big. I should have probably grabbed footage, but it is what it is. Next Jedi title.
Ooh, yeah, that one.
Um, I think that they showed at some point in its lead up on something Xbox related, right? I mean, they did it also on PlayStation. I think it also got shown at Xbox at some point. Jedi Survivor.
Well, yeah, and I mean EA last year showed off Veilguard at
Mm,
Xbox's showcase, so there's definitely the EA relationship. Obviously, Dragon Age is much more, and BioWare in general is much more Xbox
yep.
aligned. But yeah,
So the next Jedi title, it's come on. That's got to be like not obviously. I don't think it's going to release this year. I don't think it's going to release next year, but it's got to be round the corner somewhere. Like it's been what was it 2020? Was it three or
yep,
two?
2023.
2023 was Jedi Survivor, and we know just how like Respawn, man. They're just this is the thing of like they have not only talent, but they have the thing I want to like shout out to them is they kind of have that old blood DNA of working strictly under a tight constraint and getting it out and it not
Getting it
suffering
done.
hugely. It's just like, okay, yeah, that was kind of a wobbly launch with Jedi Survivor, but at the same time, people were willing to be like, okay, we'll give you the benefit of the doubt because you made two incredible games before that, for the most part, which came out without hitch. And it's also incredibly ambitious. It would have been different if it was just Fallen Order was the one before that. And it was kind of just, okay, it's hitting the same beats. Like, no, they went above and beyond when they didn't really need to. So,
And
yeah,
it also only took 4 fucking years. That was like,
of that
I could,
ambition. That's the crazy thing of
yeah,
like you're jumping up that much and you've still kept it under a half of a decade, which so many studios out there that'd be like, oh yeah, it took us 9 years to put that out. and it would still release in a poor state.
I think Fallen Order's probably sold close to 20 million copies at this point as well. Like that's so fucking crazy. So, Jedi Fallen Order by January of 2020 had sold over 8 million copies.
Mm.
That's in less than a year of its release. So, I we're 5 years removed, all the sales and all that. Like I think this is probably maybe over the 20 million mark. That's yeah, that's a big ass franchise for them. Did you have one more you wanted to hit?
I didn't know. These them two kind of probably could have been in the dream picks because it's more. I don't see them realistically coming. Um, but they're also I don't know. They kind of fit with it. I think they could potentially. Tomb Raider, man. Is it not about time that
Yeah,
something on that gets shown? There was an announcement that obviously is it TV show with Amazon has been or something
the
movie
movie, yeah.
as she goes into her little cave. I don't know if anybody saw that right there. If you're wondering why that's the way it is, that's her little hovel.
That's fucking that's top tier craftsmanship there, Loon.
Yep. Don't let me build any buildings. That is it'll be built out of game guides and boxes. But yeah, uh, they obviously had it was what the TV show or movie that's been greenlit by Amazon. Something they're funding cinematic.
The movie.
Um, and then that also resulted in them saying that they're also pumping money to make games again.
Yep.
We've seen and heard nothing unless I've missed something.
Nothing.
Like it's just been silent over there. It's just like probably time to ride that high as well with especially tying it to Microsoft of them being given a Amazon Prime deal for a TV show of an IP and it doing really well. Dude, ride that goodwill.
Yeah. And I mean, it's the thing too where that so Nate the Hate, the leaker guy, he said that either Tomb Raider, 007, or The Wolf Among Us was getting revealed sometime in this showcase window. So it's going to be one of those games. And I mean, that dude, I know we all, a lot of these leakers and shit, you know, they have a spotty track record. This dude's pretty fucking clean. His resume's pretty clean. He gets a lot of scoops that he has to have some inside information or he wouldn't be getting a lot of these scoops. So it's going to be one of those three.
Hedging his bets for three of them as well, I think, is what also keeps the reputation up. Because it's like
So
you can hear murmurs of three different games and then it's just okay, well, I'm gonna take an educated guess. It's gotta be one of these that makes an appearance.
so what happened was somebody tweeted at him on Twitter and was like, "Do you think that we'll see anything on 007, The Wolf Among Us, or Tomb Raider at Summer Game Fest in the next couple months?"
Mm-hmm.
And he was like, "You'll hear something on one of those three games." So
Ah,
I, yeah, so
smart man
yep.
or
And I
woman,
mean,
whatever you are, toaster
yeah.
perhaps.
He called the games leaving Xbox before that happened. He has some inside scoops with Microsoft. So once again, kind of tying back to your prediction of Tomb Raider being at a Microsoft showcase, like I
Mm.
wonder if his scoop was from something related to this showcase. And
Yeah, it was
that's
me after all to make my prediction, be the winner.
so I'm on the board, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Let's go
Because
with
all I've got
Mobius.
left is dream picks now.
Perfect. I have Okay, I think yeah, this is my last one on the board. Mobius Digital, the Outer Worlds team. Or Outer Wilds, my
I
bad.
was about to say,
I
excuse
so
me. Knowledge to me.
s- so Outer Wilds was massively, massively just this critical darling of a different fucking caliber when it came out, and it
Mm.
still gets talked about in that kind of all-time great camp of people. It's not a lot of people who played it, but of the people who did play it, there is a cult just fervor around that game. And once again, if you are a subscription service owner, if you are a content curator and you're trying to curate the best content for your subscription service to make it as appealing as possible, but also trying to get games that are not necessarily going to cost you an arm and a leg, this would be a pick because it's not a game that sold exceptionally well, but it's a game that has a real diehard fan base and a game that's fan base will do a ton of marketing for
Yep.
you when it's, hey, this is on Game Pass. And then the fan base who goes out and buys it and, or plays it on Game Pass or whatever, the people who don't even necessarily have any reason to shout out Game Pass are going to do the marketing for you to say, hey, if you're a Game Pass owner, you got to check this out. It's on Game Pass. It's one of the greatest games ever. Like, there's a lot of layers to some of those marketing strategies, and I know that they have some excellent strategists over there who are looking for those type of games. That is definitely one of those type of games.
Yeah, we saw that exact thing happen with Expedition 33.
And
Even
blueprints.
to
Yep.
its detriment, I might add as well. There were some people that were getting genuinely annoyed of the comparisons that were being made, but that at the end of it, that's just free marketing. They're doing the marketing for you, and even it helps keep that barrier of entry so low. Because if they hear it and they're like, I don't know, I'm on the fence, and then it's like, oh, it's in Game Pass. It's like, oh well, I'll dive in. And you saw, I know people kind of clowned it. There was a ton of like something ridiculous, like a 80% drop off or something from even the first act. But it's like that's because there's so many people jumping in to try it, and then they just jump out.
I,
That's the whole.
I
That's the whole difference with Game Pass is that that's what you've got to keep in mind is that try and envision it as if it's Blockbuster back in the day. You didn't
exactly.
you didn't beat you didn't beat every single thing that landed in your lap. You would go there and be like, oh, yeah, take it back. Oh, yeah, take it back. Oh, ooh, that's really fun. I'm gonna re-rent that. That's the kind of thing of what it is. It's just that, but without taking things back. It's just a catalog that you just pluck.
I'm going to be honest, I don't really understand a lot of the pride in finishing games either. Like, I think it's just a way to play games. Like, if you're somebody who likes to finish games, then cool, go finish games. But what if someone is someone who likes to just jump around and try about what is wrong with as long as they're playing games and checking out games, like why are they less of a gamer than you for finishing a game? But what if they played double the hours that you played in a year, tried triple the amount of experiences that you tried in a year, but they just didn't finish as many games? It's like, well, I don't know why. There's just some annoying shit about and I've probably said some dumbass shit that's gatekeepery in the past and annoying too, but I don't know. It's just like, let people
I
fucking play games how they want.
No, exactly, and it's the type of thing of I've never viewed it negatively either myself. What I've viewed it as is to me it's more positive because it means that somebody is willing to go and actually try it.
Yeah.
Because if they never tried it, they never even like. And I understand you could count. I always play straw man, so I'll straw man my own thing. I understand that they didn't make it to the best parts of the game, or maybe they because like a similar thing with like Final Fantasy 13. Dude, the opening hours of that game is really grating. Like if you're not into turn-based JRPG, like the whole thing is it gets better after 15 hours. Dude, you can't expect people like to do that. That's not good. And it's the same with like Claire Obscure. If they opened up Expedition 33 and it's just too slow for them, they will just dip out. And it's just a thing of like I don't see what the problem is with that. Like they tried it, it's clearly not for them. So at least they tried it. I'd much rather
Yeah.
people dip in and actually try things because there maybe they dip into 10 games, they hate 9 of them, but they could find their game of the year. And that is what Game
Yep.
Pass is for.
Right. Well, yeah, and it's like of course I don't want to hear someone talk a bunch about Expedition 33 if they didn't get past the first act or if they didn't,
Mm.
they played 3 hours of the game and dipped out of it and now they're trying to give a review. Like, yeah, your review means fucking absolutely nothing. But like if you're just as long as you're not talking shit about the
Yeah.
game, or you're not talking, if you're calling it your game of the year and you played 3 hours, or you're talking shit about it and you played 3 hours, it's like equally invaluable information to me. Like, I don't care
I
either
mean,
which
I
way it
did
means,
that technically. I did say it was going to be my game of the generation.
but you fucking played.
No, when I said it, I'd only played a very little of it, but it was that thing of like I felt this to be something, and I the plan was, and it is. I'm always finished with the game. It was the thing of like, there's very few games I've ever done that for, because it's usually because we talk about it all the time of like you don't usually give your opinion on something until you're mostly either done with it or you're done with it. And in them opening things, it was like I you can face plant and scrape all the skin down on your face down to the bone, like level of face plant, and this would still be a 7 out of 10 game from the opening that I played.
Well, yeah, and that's the thing where it's like you prefaced your statement with like, I haven't finished it yet, but this is
Mm.
tracking to be like game of the generation worthy, and like that's
And
yeah,
it still
I've
is. It's my favorite. I'm
save it, save it, save it, save it, save it. We got to save
oh,
that
but I
review.
can't keep it contained much
Keep
longer.
keep people on the hook. Keep
Oh,
people on the hook. How close are you to finishing it?
you said about the split path thing, right? I've done that,
Okay, so you're right there.
and I have entered the, and I'm there.
Oh, so you're okay. You're like real close.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, hell yeah. We'll review
I'm
that
like
real
within
soon then.
touching distance of beating the game, and I also beat a boss without taking any damage. So big
Oh,
ups.
wow. Yeah. Fuck yeah, dude. Well, we'll definitely provide that review very, very soon. I got all of my notes jotted down that way I don't forget shit, even though I'm probably gonna forget a lot of shit because
There
I
is
do not.
so much to dissect about that game.
Yeah. And my brain, you know how my brain be getting. It's struggling as these years add to the age calculator, the brain struggles to stay with me. Um, Next one up, I have staying with you because I actually had the exact same thought process as you with Jedi Survivor and Jedi Fallen Order with EA, but my game was the Iron Man game, which is coming from the Dead Space team, the EA Motive, who launched Dead Space in 2023, and they were already working on the Iron Man game before that. So I'm assuming it's about time to show that. And once again, EA and Microsoft have a great relationship with EA. Most EA games come into Game Pass within a year after their launch, and I think all EA games come to Game Pass a year
Yep.
after their launch.
So
Yeah.
a little bit mildly misleading if we were to go with that. It's if you're a Game Pass Ultimate subscriber, it's built in EA Play with it. So that's why a lot of them end up going in like the big heavy hitters. Some EA titles do transition into the lower tiers, but if you have Ultimate, you get whatever they put into EA Play. So that's very tight knit
Right.
relationships over there.
I really want to see that thing. And I saw a report when I woke up this morning that supposedly they have some like crazy high scale, you know, major production value. Like supposedly they're doing some crazy shit on that Iron Man game. So we'll see. I am, I think, finished with my third party predictions. Are you finished with yours?
Yep.
Cool.
How many
So
dream
now we're
picks did you have?
I have one, two, three, four dream picks because we got one out of the way earlier. So I got four.
Oh, and I have four.
Oh, we're in there. Well, I'll let you go first, my friend.
So obviously these are things I don't see happening. These are all greedy me picks. Kicking it off with the greediest of them all, Pillars Free, please. Man,
Ah,
would I love for Obsidian to go back to Microsoft and be like, oh yeah, that didn't do particularly well, did it either? So can we just make a Pillars Free now? How about that? You know that will cost you a lot less than another
yeah.
Avowed game, guys. Crazy, right?
Or they could go to the pitch and be like, hey, look what Baldur's Gate 3 just did. Give us $400 million, please.
Mm, I don't want that. I'm one of the very few. I don't want that to be the future of CRPGs. Because I prefer them to be a lot less I don't. It sounds stupid. A lot less grand in scope. I like them being the way that they are. With the most grand I want it to get is with what Wrath of the Righteous did, where you're keeping things grounded to the most part, and the things that you're doing exceptionally well are mostly mechanics and stuff like that. Like their mythic class system is unmatched in an RPG, in my opinion. So,
Yeah, and I mean there was Kerry Patel was talking about and I believe also the CEO of Obsidian were talking about kind of wanting to return to this style of game at some point. So
mm,
I don't know if it's too out of the question. That might be within the realms of possibility, my friend. But let's head straight to fucking batshit territory.
let's hear it.
Hundreds So this new studio formed recently called 100 Star, and they are founded by some of the Rocksteady, like the key kind of Rocksteady guys that I believe the founder of Rocksteady recently left, or one of the big wigs over at Rocksteady left and founded this studio called 100 Star, and I would absolutely love to see the pedigree and the just next level talent of that melee based, flow based, hand to hand combat. I would love to see Microsoft fund the shit out of because once again, you can't just do the whole thing like Callisto Protocol with Glenn Schofield, where it's, hey, I'm the guy from this other thing that you used to really like. I hope you really like this next thing that I do. Uh, that only goes so far. So if Microsoft could get in there, grab this up for Game Pass, fund the shit out of it, give the developers the money, the budget that they need to execute on their dream. Because I mean, once again, you're kind of starting from scratch. Yeah, you have the goodwill. Yeah, you have you definitely got some cash. Like I'm sure those guys are sitting pretty, but are you sitting 300 million, $200 million pretty? Is that even are you going for that level of production? Are you going for that level of scale? But it would never hurt to get a Microsoft, a Game Pass bag for your first outing for your new game.
Yeah, you said this was a newly formed studio.
Yep,
How
from the
hard
uh
do you think that is to convince them to kick that big of a budget, even with like names and pedigree of that much? Because you see how many of them get like started up and then they just burn out really quick. It's why it was so impressive when things. I know we keep throwing, well, I keep throwing praise on it, but like with how Expedition was handled, of just keeping things very steady, very grounded, and just being smart. Because whatever like profits compared to production costs must be, gigantic. Like they must be raking in the money compared to what they ended up like putting into it.
yeah, and I mean, I think that it kind of depends on the talent that you have. Like if you're looking and you have um core rock steady talent that, key designers and I believe was it Sefton Hill was, let's see. Well, fuck it. I'll look it up in a second. But if you got some of like the key guys that you really feel can you can trust with a big budget and you want to throw it out, because once again, Microsoft has limitless fucking pockets. If you wanted to throw $100 million, $200 million to get this thing day one on Game Pass, like I think that all parties would benefit there.
Mm. Yeah.
Let's see. So 100 Star, yeah, okay, it was the founders who, so it was two founders who set up 100 Star. Yep, Rocksteady Studios founders Sefton Hill and Jamie Walker have established a new development studio in London called 100 Star Games, which is described as a AAA game studio startup that will consist of 100 industry veterans and emerging talent. So yeah, this is a big thing. This isn't going to be a
Yeah.
this is yeah, that's going to be a big thing.
It'll be in. It's always the fit because seeing when their product comes out and you see like how much it cost them and stuff. I do wonder the difference in production costs to doing a 100-man team, because obviously we're well aware by now that it's expensive as shit to produce games in America.
Oh yeah.
I do wonder if it's potentially cheaper to do it in the UK because I think Rebellion's from the UK, if I'm not
Yep.
mistaken, Codemasters and stuff, and they're always very smart with their budgets and stuff like that. So it would be interesting to see if they could pull it off, even with that level of talent and stuff, on a cheaper budget, a leaner budget, and still get something that's like, that doesn't really seem to have compromised as much.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I know it's not the UK, but you saw what fucking Warhorse was able to pull off
Yep.
with, I mean, that's as AAA, like that's as big budget as video games get, and it cost less than I think $40 million. Like that's an astonishing achievement.
Well, this why I hold such reverence for the Metro series. If you saw the behind the scenes of the making of that game and how they made that game with basically pennies in comparison to when you're looking around all your shoulders and everything, it's like you accomplished that with that low of a budget. Like that's madness. So
Absolutely.
hopefully,
What's your second
hopefully they get it right.
what's your second pick on the board for your dream selection? I'm gonna be honest, that's the most level-headed that I have.
Oh, what? Okay.
It gets
Ooh.
crazy.
Okay. Um. Mm. I'll save my craziest to last. I don't know which one of these would rank higher, so it doesn't really matter. What's a game that we both loved that launched into Game Pass, and it's kind of a choose your own adventure kind of game?
Uh-oh.
Mm.
You talking about As Dusk Falls? I mean, I
Where's
don't think that's necessarily a
where's
dream.
where's my ending to that story, guys? I wanna know what happened. I wanna know where my choices led. I wanna know if who lived happily ever after and who didn't. Man, what a game! What a
It's
what
so
a what a
good.
freaking game! And I gotta give you full credit for it because I won't lie, the uh the cover art did nothing for me. When I saw it in Game Pass and you see the announcements and the initial showing of like, oh, that animate, like it's not even animation. I don't even know how you would explain it. It's like part animation and then it
Yeah.
stops, and then you're looking at it and you're like, I don't know about this. Like that looks kind of weird. And then you look at the cover
Yeah.
art and you're like, that looks boring as shit. And then you popped on solo and you sung its praises and I was like, there's no way it's this good. You're there's no way. This has to be something like this has to be like time and place. Like you're overhyping this. From what I've seen, it looks okay at best. Nah, man, that is one of the best of that genre. I think it even does better than what Telltale tries to do. If I'm being 100% honest, and that can probably be perceived as like, oh, okay, you're throwing it way too much praise. I felt like the impact and the choices that they gave you in that game were a lot cooler than anything really that Telltale's ever done. Telltale maybe have like a smattering of like one here and then two episodes go by and then like one there. Like with As Dusk Falls, it felt so rich in the choices to the point where like I don't replay them types of games. I was so tempted to be like, I want to see like what would have happened if I chose this. So yeah, what a great game.
Well, I mean, and it's the thing too, Loon, where like they were so deliberate about making such small scale but extremely divergent and extremely like the weaving that they pulled off in that game was so impressive because they would focus on like one location for 30
Yeah.
45 minutes. It was really cool, man. Oh shit. All right. I'm gonna let's rapid fire run through these. I
Cool.
just got text from for work. Let's go with like so I got two back to back that I can hit immediately here.
Yep.
Um because they're both relating to the same property.
Cool.
S- So this once again, I know this is not going to happen because I know that there is not enough money in the world to pull Treyarch away from Call of Duty, but after playing that Black Ops 6 campaign with Treyarch, developing this almost Ocean's 11 style badass heist missions in the casino, and just there's some cool shit in that game. I would love to see just a Star Wars, a fucking Star Wars game made by Treyarch, a first person, kind of thinking to that Mandalorian game that got canceled from Respawn. If
Mm.
Respawn can't do it and you're looking for someone to do it, go and throw it Treyarch's way. If you want to make it a bounty hunter game like they were making, cool. But I would be totally down for like a heist game, like some Andor style shit going on or some,
You an
you know,
Andor man.
dude, I'm such in the Star Wars groove right now that it's like, yeah, but here's my thing, Loon. I I think we go a step beyond that.
Okay.
Knights of the Old Republic remake is re-revealed at an Xbox showcase. Now, a lot of you might remember that Knights of the Old Republic was recently, revealed, well, not recently, definitely not recently, like 20, I think that was 2021 if I'm not mistaken. So it's been a while.
Mm.
Um, But I think under those old sort of contracts that were struck there, that was with Embracer
Yep.
and Aspire was the developer.
Mm.
Now Saber is the developer on it. PlayStation wasn't happy with Aspire's work. So when Saber left Embracer, what happened to Knights of the Old Republic? And it's from all accounts, Saber is still working on it. But does that mean Embracer is also working on it? Is Embracer still funding it? Is PlayStation funding it with Saber? Is Embracer not in the picture? Is
Who has
PlayStation out of the picture, but
Kotor?
Embracer? So it's like all of these moving parts. But one possible scenario is that PlayStation has nothing to do with it. And if that's the case, then why not go home?
I was
And
literally
what
about to say, come home.
imagine that pop once again. We're talking about E3 here, and we're not in an E3 style scenario. But imagine if we were. The years go by. You think it's coming exclusively to PlayStation, and Xbox fans are sitting there watching that, and KOTOR gets re-revealed at an Xbox stage. Years of silence, radio silence. Like that would be nasty.
That would be.
So those are my two back-to-back batshits, and then I got one it's more batshit, but for less fun reasons.
That's fine. Right, I can rattle mine off two pretty quickly because one of them isn't talked about all that much, but it's not really that much to talk about, and one I talk into the ground enough as it is, as much as Pillars. Wasteland 4. I'd love to see that. Um, I think it'd be very, very cool to see that continuation, especially with how much love Fallout's getting and stuff like that, and how similar it is to Fallout in many ways. But the thing, like Pillars, as much as I want it, I man, Lost Odyssey, man. Like playing through, and this is like I need to try and keep my mouth shut because I want to save it for the when we get to Claire. There is so much DNA there, and it was doing things that Claire's doing, and people are like praising it as if it's the first time it's ever done it, and it's like I don't know, man. Like Lost Odyssey did this. I think with how much love that got re-releasing it because I know it's technically available, but it's the type of thing where a lot of people would just want a brand new like release, as it were. We like backwards compatibility is nice for those that know it exists, but giving it a brand new spotlight would be incredible. Like a full-fledged remake in because this is the thing I would want it to be fairly similar, but like on the scale of like a Final Fantasy VII remake. Like I think that would be phenomenal to
Yeah,
do. But
absolutely, dude.
that's a pure that is a pure dream pick because I think Sakaguchi's also said that he wants nothing to do with revisiting it. Not that
Oh
he hates
wow.
it. It's just he has that thing of like I've told the story, it's done. Like if you want to experience it, go play it,
Yeah. Yeah.
kind of thing.
I mean, Microsoft owns the IP, right?
I don't know where the way that it was. I probably assume so, considering they were able to backwards compat it. So they must have had either still ownership of the IP or they had a very strong pull over it.
Yeah. I mean, it doesn't necessarily mean that they own it, but it is Microsoft Game Studios
Mm.
on the thing there. So, yeah, a fucking remaster would be great timing too. You know, just something. I mean, obviously, you would rather it be a remake in full production and you know have all of the bells and whistles, but just to get it back
Yeah,
in the popular
it's
consciousness, especially after Expedition.
it's aged surprisingly well as well. That's the thing. It could get away with a remaster in the way that like Final Fantasy X does and stuff like that.
Oh, and it's not on PlayStation, right?
No,
So
it's a Xbox exclusive.
I mean, popular
Keep
Japanese
feeding
role-playing
them,
games.
feeding them
Eh,
greatness.
honestly, dude, if it's gonna fund fucking Perfect Dark, then fund it. Um, all right, well, let's talk about a game that we don't know if it's ever gonna get funding. Mass Effect 5.
Ooh,
And I know it's a bummer. I know it's a sad reality that we live in where Grub reported that it wasn't gonna be released until like 2029, 2030,
it's
which
crazy.
people back then were like, ah, he's out of his mind. And now we're in 2025 and it's looking like his mind might have been probably pretty close to on the money with this one. Because if we would see gameplay at least by now. If this thing was,
Yeah,
I
EA
mean it,
doesn't sit on their stuff. They put it out there.
and it was recently revealed that it's in pre-production. So like yeah. We we're a ways out from the old Mass Effect 5. I am hoping that this thing will be funded, and I'm hoping that it will be like you know, a real Mass Effect game. You know what I mean? Not Mass Effect
Choose your
fucking
words
Anthem.
carefully.
But I just yeah, I'm hoping no crazy live service shit. Have multiplayer, cool, no worries there, but no crazy live service shit like an actual Mass Effect game. Let's
Yeah,
just get one more. And if it completely bombs or whatever the case may be, then I guess that's probably it for BioWare. But let their big franchise get a little bit of a little. Honestly, it's not even their big franchise. Dragon Age sold more than Mass Effect, but
did it? I
Mass,
thought
yeah.
Mass Effect shifted way more copies than Dragon Age overall.
You want to know the craziest thing? Dragon Age Inquisition is actually their best-selling game of
I
all
was
time.
about to say that makes sense to me because it obviously
Yeah.
got the Game of the Year noms and stuff like that, and it didn't have the negative swirling around that Mass Effect 3 had. But overall, as a franchise, that's fucking insane.
Yeah, it's crazy, man. I think if I'm not mistaken, Dragon Age Inquisition has sold double the whatever the best Mass Effect game sold. I think Dragon Age Inquisition's like 14 million copies sold or something crazy like that. And that's why people, when I was thinking that Veilguard was going to end up being their best-selling game, people were calling me crazy. I was like, that's not a high bar to cross, guys. Like, not trying to be rude, but those games don't sell crazy,
Man, that's
which is
crazy.
crazy.
That's the only word for it. It is genuinely crazy.
Yeah, but final pick on the board, Mass Effect 5. What you got for me, Loon?
Oh, I rattled mine off quick.
Oh,
Wasteland
perfect.
4 and Lost Odyssey. So Lost
Perfect,
Odyssey
perfect.
again. Give me Lost Odyssey, man.
Well, my good people, we greatly appreciate you for tuning in to that long ass Xbox Showcase Predictions Extravaganza. And that is what I'm going to title this fucking thing because that was an extravaganza. If you want to find a more in depth Xbox Showcase prediction video on the internet, good fucking luck. That's the challenge that I'm sending out to all of you damn Xbox predictors on the internet. Top that. Mic drop. I'm gonna pull the mic out of it. Drop this damn thing. No, it's I always love this season, like listening to Defining Duke and listening like there's so many great I always love tuning into the different prediction because it's letting your mind run wild, trying to see where things could be positioned. Like it's just a I know some people don't like predictions because it's just pretty much talking about things that don't exist. And like I get that to some degree, but to me I've always said this, and I long, this has been a belief of mine forever. I think half of the fun of the games industry is talking about what's what's next, what we don't know about, what we hope for, opposed to just analyzing the product. And then, there's because it's I think about it like the Royal Rumble with WWE, where it's like when the clock is winding down, the fun when it's 10, 9, 8, it's like, oh shit, is it gonna be is it gonna be the Sandman from ECW? Is it gonna be like the hype is building it up in your mind of what it could be, and then it ends up disappointing, and it's like okay, but it's fun to have that hype and build it up in your mind to all the what could be scenarios. So there you are. That's a lot of what could be scenarios. I got to get the hell out of here. Loon, I appreciate you so much, my friend, for doing this. All the production. That was a lot of fucking work on your end. I'm gonna have to send you a physical copy of Expedition 33, which I'm sure you already fucking bought that,
I
didn't you?
already got it. I
Yeah.
need to send you a copy.
Right.
Can't
Yeah.
get it.
They can't
Do you still
they
not have
can't
it?
No, and I fucking pre-ordered that. I get it though. It's my guy at GameStop. He's like, listen, man, I held it for as long as I could. I had people coming in here, which is cool to hear that. And that was what I told him. I was like, I'm just happy to hear that people were coming in trying to grab this thing nonstop.
Yep.
And he's like, I held it for as long as I could, but people were coming in every day trying to pick up copies of this thing, and we were sold out. And it's like I held it because I played through it on Game Pass. You know what I mean? And it came out when I was on that work trip, and I wasn't able to go in and pick it up. So when I got back, I was already playing through it on Game Pass, so it wasn't really in my mind like to
Yeah.
go and pick up my physical copy. So, it, listen, it is what it is. I'll grab because they're doing another print of it. I'll happily. I bought a hoodie instead. I bought a Expedition 33 hoodie. So yeah,
Support the love.
that team
Mon ami.
deserves. Absolutely. Absolutely. So appreciate you guys. Hope y'all all enjoyed the video, and a lot more shit on the way. Subscribe, like, comment, all that good stuff, and we shall see you very, very soon. Hit us with your predictions in the comments below. Goodbye.
See you later.